hits were not homers.
Right. I mean, the Padres' little hit did take the lead at 4-3.
Yes.
So it was a tie game. I don't know what the call's like.
It was in the 6th.
Yep. I saw the 6th, saw the 7th. It was the commercial break between the 7th and the 8th that did me in.
There you go.
I woke up after the game, found out it was 5-3.
At least when you fell asleep, it was 4-3, though.
It was. It was. Matt Cannata already retweeting.
I know.
I would try to find that hit to make it 4-3 or find all three of McDavid's goals. And if you can cut it and play them back to back to back, would be the best way to do it.
I'm looking for McDavid's goals.
A hat trick and a helper. The only other thing is in Montreal, they scored the game-winning goal with 19 seconds left. Josh Anderson.
Ooh. Get it in French.
Locked in front by Muzzin, gave it away.
Morning, Rick.
Was that a game winner?
That was a game winner.
Would probably need to hear a few seconds before it.
Yeah.
Because
I'll just do the hat trick.
Okay.
All right, 15 seconds.
Morning, Adam. Morning, Johnny Mac.
Pump it up, Rick. Pump it up.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Happy Thursday. And we're wondering, how the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope your week's going pretty well now that you're over the hump and you can start to see the weekend from here. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, David. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Another decent night's sleep, which is always important for me to catch back up from the weekend. I'm almost about ready to head back on the road again. Almost. One more good night's sleep, and then I'll be ready to go.
Have you found a nap window that's the same?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's where I'm most jealous of you. I'm working with Aikman, working with Danielson, whatever. The fact that every day you take a nap and I can't, particularly these last 2 weeks, even if I've wanted to, because there's been no school.
Right. I will say, when I'm home, much less naps. On the road, it's a lock.
The hotel nap is one of the greatest naps that there is because you can get a hotel room pitch black. I mean, you can get that room. Most hotels, it is not overly difficult to get that room as dark as is humanly possible. Pitch black so that you can go out whether it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon.
Also, when you're home, around friends and family, you feel, at least I do, as if the phone has to be somewhat on so that it will always make some kind of noise, even if it's a vibration. When you're on the road, that thing could go in a dresser drawer and you can just go to sleep. You're on the road. Somebody, tries to contact you and 90 minutes later you get back to them and they go, "Where were you?" And you could say anything. Production meeting. Okay, I was out eating. Or I'm proud to say I was napping. Me and the 8-month-olds, we were napping. Thank you very much. Now, Mark, the key decision to make is after the show, do you eat right away and then nap, which is preferred? I must
Easiest way to
admit.
nap with a full belly. I mean,
Yes.
we are experienced eaters, the two of us, and we know the proper way to sleep.
Correct.
It might not be the healthiest way to sleep, but it's the proper way for us to sleep.
Yeah, at this stage of the game, I think I've thrown, the healthiest out the window. I mean, it's a little late in the game for that. I know my wife and my mother and others would argue differently, but I'm about 70% through this game at least. I might be a little late in the game to say, now it's time to run the ball. Might be a little late. So, and that was the modus operandi in Kansas City, Mark, was a buffet breakfast in the hotel, right back up the elevator. Boom. Nap.
It's an early nomination for a poll question. Are you jealous of Moulton taking naps daily? Because most of our audience works 8 hours a day, and a nap is not something that even enters into their realms of possibility.
I know. And it didn't mind forever. And now, and then, what's tough is when football season's over. Now, this whole morning shift thing, you can kind of justify a little bit of a nap. Like Felipe, we try all the time to be like your long lost uncles and to try to give you pearls of wisdom to go through, this this world with. But we tried very early on to discuss with you the nap and how when you're doing the morning shift, the nap has to become part of your working life. Have you worked the nap into your life?
1,000%. I took the nap for granted my whole life before this job. I thought naps were stupid. I thought it was pointless. I thought just power through the day and get some sleep. Well, when you're not getting much sleep in the first place, that's when the nap comes in.
There you
Saves
go.
your day.
And I have a dilemma because if I tell the wife that I took a nap, it's a combination of jealousy and rage. And, how was your day, honey? It was pretty boring. Not much happened. Did you get a nap in? Well, how should I answer that question? How was your day?
Does she ask you, did you get a nap in?
Every
'Cause
once in a while, she'll say, did you take a nap? And I
Well,
don't know how to answer it because I want to say that I did, if in fact that I did, but I don't want the look that I'm going to get for having taken said nap.
I think you're allowed to say yes to that question if whatever was on the to-do list was done. Then, if you think about it, you could play golf, you could nap. It doesn't matter if there were 2 or 3 things you had to do and you got them done, you did your job and you worked. Okay, so it's okay, I believe. However, if there's even one thing looming out there that you did not get done, in part because you took a nap, you cannot admit to the nap. You just have to admit to, I'm a guy, I didn't get everything done.
100%. And that excuse is bulletproof. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't get grief for not doing said list, but you just look at someone and go, oh, I forgot to
Oh,
go to
man.
Publix. I forgot to run that
Man.
errand.
And I had the time to do it too.
Oh, man,
Damn.
I'm sorry. I'll do it tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I can go right now. Which
yes, I've never used that line before.
And you, of course, I mean, that's just putting all your chips in, 99% sure they're not going to call your bluff. All right. And if they do, it's like, oh, wow, this game's over. Darn.
It's all right. If they call your bluff, you know you're done anyhow. You just go get it, you smile, and you walk out and go, well, I got away with that one. Was the nap worth it? Hell yes, the nap was worth it.
Exactly. You're driving there going, well, at least I got a nap out of the deal.
And I didn't have to admit it.
Right. So, Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. If you want to go naps in the poll question, number of naps per week. All right.
Oh,
0.
It would just be, are you jealous of Moulton's naps?
I'm trying to think. I probably do between 3 and 4 a week.
It's impressive, David. It's
Thank
really
you.
impressive.
Like there's no naps on Saturdays. Saturdays is up early and it's go time. Work all day. Sunday, believe it or not. See, does sleeping on a plane count? I don't think it does.
It's a nap.
Oh, come on. I mean,
there's your poll question.
Does sleeping on a plane count as a nap?
Yes.
And it doesn't, because within an hour, it's tough to sleep more than an hour because
that's a nap.
No, Mark. No.
An hour is a nap.
I'm with Mark on this one. An hour is a nap. Hour nap.
See, to me, a nap is you can go to sleep and either A, you don't have to set the alarm, you can sleep, or B, you have to set the alarm at like the 2-hour mark and make sure you don't go over that. That's a nap. I mean, 30, 40 minutes, that's an interlude.
No, that's a nap. 20 minutes is a nap.
Oh,
if I can get 20, 30 minutes, that's outstanding.
David, what's your minimum on a nap?
Well, by your guys' definition.
No, by your definition.
Oh, my definition?
So what's your normal nap? Hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, 4?
I will say this. The Monday nap, that's Katie barred the door. I actually set the alarm because I don't want to be late for Monday Night Football.
That's sleeping.
Well, okay, but that's 2+.
That's
I mean,
sleeping.
okay, all right. So
That's impressive. I'm not taking anything away from it. I don't want you to think I'm talking disparagingly to you. I'm impressed as hell that you get that done, but that's sleep.
I mean, this is how long Mondays is. I send out texts saying I'm going to be unavailable from noon to 3. That's how long Mondays naps usually are. I will call my wife and say, "You've got 5 minutes. I'm going to sleep."
All right, let me ask you guys something. Hold on, really quick. On Tuesday, I came into the studio in the morning on 3 hours of sleep. When I got home, I took a 3-hour nap. Is that a 3-hour nap or is that 3 hours sleep?
Sleep.
But I had to catch up because I only had.
Yes. My point exactly. You had to catch up on what?
There you go. Sleep.
So is there a certain amount of time? Is anything over an hour and a half sleep and not a nap?
I think anything over 2. Once you've gone, past the noon to 2 nap, you're sleeping.
I was going to say, because you were in hockey all those years. I mean, Mark, come on now. Morning skate, eat, back at the hotel room, and basically guys slept from Days of Our Lives to General Hospital.
You went up to the room during days, which started at 1.
Right.
And you were up around General Hospital. So, yeah, about an hour and a half because you didn't go right to bed.
Well,
some guys took longer than that. Some guys would go to the pregame meal at noon and eat in 4 minutes so they could get to bed and sleep longer.
Well, no, you didn't go to sleep right away. I mean, you had to check out Jennifer. You had to see Marlena come back from the dead. The first 10 or 15 minutes, you had to get the plot lines, and then
right.
you don't have to watch the rest. I mean,
Who's Stefano after now?
Well, exactly. Oh, wow, Stefano's back. That's amazing. They killed him 5 times. So, right. But they get to it early. And then, it's, to be honest with you, soap operas are a lot like how Ali fought late in his career. Ali give you the first 30, 40 seconds of a round, and the last 30 seconds of a round, he try to steal it. In the middle, he's just killing time. That's really a successful soap opera.
Right,
move it along, and then at the very end, give us one thing, tease us for tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
It's really a round is a week. That first part is the Monday show. The middle part is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They give you nothing. And then they're going like a bat out of hell is your Friday show to tease you for the weekend.
Right. The storylines in the middle of the week are, the ones you don't care about. They bring in the bit players, the supporting actors and actresses. The stars get Monday and Friday.
We have a great show lined up for you today. Pat Kirwan, Matt Cannata, Roy Cummings, and Dr. Roto. It is a football frenzy here on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Johnny Mac, that's very funny.
I think it's pretty solid. We just did 13 minutes on naps.
I'd save it, Felipe.
I got you.
There's your best stuff open on Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
Yes, because we said Thursday. Well, in Mongo, like Mark, early in his life was a recipient of the nap gene. Then had to put it to the side for so many years.
I want to get back. The problem, I got to figure out at least 2 days a week to take naps.
It changes your outlook on life.
And even sometimes if you toss and turn and just lay there for 2 hours and get 30 minutes of sleep, it's still productive.
I'm kind of on the fence between two things now because I usually like to take at least an hour to nap, to catch up when I feel like I need to, which is most of the weekdays. I don't know whether I should nap or work out because they're both equally healthy things.
You should be working out.
Because I'm young.
Right.
I should be. And I do later in the day. That's the thing. I'll nap, and then later in the day, I'll be like, okay.
So how many days a week do you work out? And does that just mean you go play basketball?
No. Like, how many days a week?
That was the question, yes. You're a tough interview, Felipe.
No.
You're really a tough interview.
No, because I'm thinking while I'm processing the question.
It's not a hard question.
Like 3-4 times. And then pickleball, it's like 4 or 5 times.
By the way, did you see Brady bought a pickleball team or something yesterday?
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a team in this league that LeBron, Draymond, and Kevin Love are trying to start. Which is pretty awesome, by the way. Was pickleball even a thing when you guys were younger?
Pickleball is less than 10 years old, I think.
No, it was invented in the 60s.
Its popularity is less than 10 years old.
Right. True. Its relevance.
I had never seen a pickleball court till I moved to Florida and was in Act 2 of this show.
Gotcha. Yeah, pickleball came into my life like 2-3 years ago.
Major League Pickleball.
Oh my God, the world's ended.
They bought an expansion team. It'll begin playing next year. Pickleball, America's fastest growing sport.
Yeah, so is lacrosse.
Pickleball is a lot better to watch than lacrosse.
No, it's not. It's fucking table tennis.
It's giant ping pong, actually. Like,
okay,
you're right.
I'm sorry. Ping pong and table tennis are basically the same damn sport.
No. But like giant table tennis. That's what I like refer to it to people who don't know.
You can refer to it as anything you want. It's a sport for really old people that don't play tennis anymore.
All I know is anyone can get it. I will take anyone down.
Mm-hmm. I guarantee I could find some 70-year-old man that would kick your ass.
I would run him. Oh my God, I'd paint him corner to corner. Good luck trying to catch up.
Warner Wolf would kick your ass.
Guaranteed.
I don't know who the hell that is.
It's a famous sportscaster, lives in Naples. Big pickleball fan.
He's like 80.
3 or 4. Yes. I got my money on Warner.
10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you, Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Starting 5 coming up in a little more than 15 minutes time. You know, Mark, you and I have talked over the years about wanting to buy into a team. How much money would it take? You know, we see the lottery and, you know, what if we won it? And after taxes, would we have enough to blank? And now the big 4 are pretty much unattainable, no matter the lottery prize. And, you know, you many years ago would have, if you had won the lottery, you would have bought in to an MLS team or tried to even just own one outright.
Yep. I thought that was a booming sport a decade ago, and it seems that I've been, doing a lot better on that call than I have in any of my football picks.
Well, you got last night right because, well, you waited for me to make my pick and you went the other way. So, you know, maybe we'll do that tomorrow with making our picks. I'll make mine first. If you want, you can just take the other side. In fact, that would be a great segment. We should probably do that. I'll make my picks. You just take the 5 opposite views. You're guaranteed to go at worst 3-2. I mean, at worst. And there's a good chance of 4-1 or better. So yes, congratulations on Louisiana last night because, of course, Marshall beat Notre Dame in South Bend, but they've yet to beat another FBS school.
Right. That was by 10 at home to Louisiana last night.
And that was only because they had the last score of the game. They were down 23-7. They scored and went for 2. I mean, right. Mm-hmm. Blew a 7-3 halftime lead. Don't get me started. 10.5-point dog losing by double digits. I digress. Not that was a bad loss for Notre Dame or anything. Did I mention that Marshall's yet to beat another FBS school? Okay. Back to the buying of a team. Tom Brady bought a pickleball franchise yesterday. Now, he didn't buy it alone. He went in with Hall of Fame tennis player Kim Clijsters, and they headline a new ownership group. You know, apparently there's, a JP Morgan financial advisor and, others that are involved. And apparently this expansion franchise that Brady bought into is going to be half female owned. But Brady's apparently got the pickleball craze in the last 4 years. And he has openly talked about wherever his next residence is going to be, building of a pickleball court. And so I'm just wondering, I mean, LeBron, Brady, they've bought into pickleball. There's a league. It's called Major League Pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's the MLP. I'm guessing, but it's Major League Pickleball. There are 16 teams, Mark. And that's just now. Once you get to 16, hell, 24, 32. What do you say? We pull our resources, we buy into pickleball.
Not a chance.
Why?
I'm not interested. It's a recreational sport. They tried the World Team Tennis. It didn't work. We really think people are going to spend a lot of time going to and watching people play ping pong?
It's America's fastest growing sport. That's all I got.
I know it is.
Hey, come on, you got to sell that hard.
You do.
Do you want to buy in? Well, sure. It's America's fastest growing sport.
I need to look up those combine dates. Try to get in that. Hell, maybe you guys can sign me to an NIL deal.
Well, first off, Felipe, you're not in college anymore. So your NIL days have left you.
Right.
And I know, Felipe, anything that you do, you are the best at. Basketball, pickleball, life. But I'm willing to say that you're not ready for Major League Pickleball yet. I know that you think you are, but I'm just willing to bet that the number of people that play it, I don't put you, if there are going to be 16 teams in this league and they each have 4 to 8 members, so between 64 and 128 pickleball players, I don't think that you're in the top 128 in the world right now.
Felipe, here's another thing, Felipe. Your backyard is Southwest Florida, which may be the number one place in America for pickleball.
It is.
Right. From Charlotte County all the way down to Naples. In fact, they have, I think, they've had the national pickleball tournament many times in Naples.
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, I remember a year ago in Charlotte County, one of the big controversies was there was too much damn noise emanating from the pickleball courts. And they were debating whether or not they needed to build like soundproofing walls around it because those darn whippersnappers were playing pickleball till 9:30. And, well, the noise and traffic and what have you. So, Felipe, maybe you want to take your talents out of, the 941 and the 239. That maybe there you would be an elite pickleball player. But let me tell you, you'd be lucky to be a Monday qualifier.
Maybe I'll
Southwest Florida.
Maybe I'll take my talents to South Beach.
Well, you're probably better off on the Southeast Coast than the Southwest Coast when it comes to pickleball.
Because when you get beat by an 80-year-old, you pretty much have to retire.
Look, I understand that it's a game that requires a lot of skill, but I actually think that it is impossible for an 80-year-old to beat me in pickleball.
Let me tell you, there are 10 80-year-olds listening right now who would destroy you.
21,000 is the text line. 21,000. I will line them up, and I'm betting on you.
It's not possible.
Felipe,
possible.
Felipe, let me tell you, we will line up 15 of them. We will have just a field of 16. It'll be you against the field. And I am convinced that the field will beat you more times than you will beat the field. Convinced. And we could do it randomly.
When and where is my response?
Felipe, here's what I'll put up. If you happen to win more than you lose, we'll let you continue to talk on this show. When we're right, your mic.
That's it. That's it.
Forever. You just sit there and press buttons.
You know what? I'm even willing to put that on the line.
Done.
But you have to honor it.
I will.
You say a lot of things. All right. And you don't always back them all up. So that's a bet. And by the way, we're rolling tape. All right. So we've got it. I am telling you, Felipe, we will do this randomly. I have trust in Mark's ability to just go through the text line and line up a field that will destroy you. Destroy you.
They've never seen this backhand.
And
before.
all of them will be card-carrying AARP members.
Yes.
Every damn one of them.
Yes. And by the way,
they'll have to pull that card out and show it to you before they kick your ass on the pickleball court.
Right. In fact,
I have no interest in Major League Pickleball. I'm on their website. I can't see what a franchise costs.
Well, I'm guessing, it's affordable is my guess. With the lotteries that are out there right now, I'm pretty sure we could even split one of the lotteries that's out there right now, and I think we'd be good.
50 grand.
That's it?
That's what I'm saying. No, that's the American Pickleball Association.
No, this new league, I mean, come on. If LeBron and Brady and what have you are in, I mean, it is probably costing, some coin here. I'm guessing it's a few million.
No way.
Yeah, I'm guessing a few million. And that Brady and LeBron and them are throwing in 500 G's. That's my guess. Mark, what part of it's the fastest growing sport in America? All right, are you not up with. That's all.
Miller and Moulton. Pickleball controversy has hit us. Yeah, we've got other things to talk about. We've got more football today than we've had on a show in a long time.
We'll
talk playoff baseball. We got all of that stuff. But pickleball has hit us.
Felipe, and when the 80-year-olds trash talk you into the ground, it will be painful.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again. Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
See, Twitch chat, what you guys also have to understand is that I'm not set, or Paul specifically, because he says he's flexing the fact that he beat a 17-year-old. I'm not 17. I'm 22.
Oh, my God. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Everybody hear
Yeah.
that? He's 22, which
One.
means he's in
And
worse
two.
shape than the 17-year-old self that he was.
No,
Oh, guaranteed. You played high school basketball at 17. You were in great shape. You're not in that shape
I'm
right
in
now.
much better shape right now. Way better shape. I'm stronger. I'm taller. I'm longer.
Okay.
And I'm faster.
Boy, I'll tell you what, you do not have any lack of confidence, Felipe.
Nope.
Never met anybody that liked themselves
And-
as much as you like yourself.
And again, it's pickleball, not tennis. But I have been watching tennis my whole life.
Have you been playing tennis your whole life? Did you play any leagues? Did you
No.
grow up playing tennis?
No.
No. So you're saying that a 50-year-old guy who knows on spin, understands tennis, that you're better than them. Felipe, stop, please. Okay? Stop.
Joel Embiid has a great
Stop.
quote.
I need a poll question. That's all I care about right now.
We're not doing the nap one.
I say we ask, at what point does a nap become sleep? How many naps do you take a week? 0, 1, 2, or more.
Done. It's up. Well, I'm just trying to keep the show at the top of the priority list during the commercial breaks until we get the shit done that needs to get done. Because once we get to 7, the show's over. In fact, we won't even do the clutch play until... Are we doing just one segment with Pat or 2?
It's up to us. We could save clutch to 8:21. We have that segment open.
Perfect.
Mm. It's true, Jimmy. Jimmy, that would be fabulous if this ever came to be, and our clutch play would be Miller and Moulton doing match point of the 8 of Warner Wolf
It'll be
beating
on Twitch.
Felipe.
It'll be on Twitch. You can write it down now.
Especially in honor of Warner Wolf. Let's go to the videotape.
Well, Warner will be our sideline reporter.
Yep. Naples chose pickleball over the Cubs.
Yep. Smart move. More money.
Actually, they chose pickleball over the Braves and the Blue Jays.
I went 0, 1 or 2, 3 or more. Because you're in the 3 or more category, and I'm jealous.
Yeah, I am.
Beautiful thing, David.
In fact, Tuesday morning, did the show, done by 9. Checkout was 11. Went downstairs, pounded the buffet, came back up to the room, slept an hour, packed up and left.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for making us part of your day. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We have a jam-packed show. As it turns out, Pat Kirwan had to move his second weekly appearance up a day, and the only slot we had open was 20 or so minutes from now. So top of the hour, Pat Kirwan. Hour from now, Matt Cannata, Pro Football Network. 8 o'clock hour, Roy Cummings to talk some Bucks. Our Clutch Vodka play of the day. And Dr. Roto. Your fantasy questions. By now, your original draft has blown up. And you need to go to plans B or C. Get your questions ready for Dr. Roto 2 hours from now. Right now, it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, the 2 National League teams who lost game 1 won game 2. Braves with 3 in the 6th beat the Phillies 3-0. Padres did surrender 3 solo homers to the Dodgers, but scattered 8 other hits, did Darvish and company. Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth each had 2 hits, a homer, 2 RBIs. San Diego, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 8th, beat the Dodgers 5-3. So both the National League series are tied at a game apiece as the scene shifts to Philly and San Diego. It's going to be nuts in San Diego.
It is going to be a great scene. That's why, to me, I had trouble with the wild. Do the playoffs start until both teams have hosted a game, if you know what I mean? And the wild card round was neat, but the fact that all the games were played in one ballpark, for San Diego, their playoffs haven't started for their fans until they get a home game. That should be quite a scene.
And now they know that they're going to
make it there.
Well, and I think a lot of them will. But 1-1, both National League series. Meanwhile, Seattle and Cleveland will each try to even their divisional series today. Game 2 in Houston's at 3:30. Game 2 in the Bronx is at 7:30. Both games are on TBS. College football last night. Marshall went to South Bend a month ago and beat Notre Dame. They haven't beaten a single FBS school since. Louisiana came to West Virginia and beat the Thundering Herd 23-13. Mark's a winner chicken dinner because he let me pick first and I took Marshall. Laid the 10.5. Hell, Louisiana nearly covered the 10.5. Some college news from yesterday. So the Big 12 announced, our early talks with ESPN and Fox have been, quote, meaningful. Meaningful. What does that mean? Meaningful. Not promising. Not optimistic. Not fruitful.
Means they're entering a meaningful relationship, David.
What does that mean? They're already in a relationship with both those partners. How can it get more meaningful?
One of them's got a ring.
I think both of them are trying to get out of their engagement. Anyway, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips said, quote, there's a lot of push, unquote, to expand the college football playoffs sooner rather than later, i.e. in 2024. He said the calendar's not on our side, but the desire is. So they are pushing to get to 12 in 2 years. We'll see if they can do it. Remember, it was 5 weeks ago, the Board of Managers, i.e. the university presidents, voted to go to 12 teams, but not until 2026. Meanwhile, the 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick, quote, are trying and committed to doing it in 2024, unquote. Here's the problem, though. These suckers are going to expand the NCAA basketball tournament.
I know. They're going to 96, aren't they?
Golly. Greg Sankey of the SEC, who otherwise I normally really like, Jim Phillips of the ACC, they're both on record as saying we got to expand this tournament. I will say the coaches are divided. Those that have spoken publicly. I mean, you've got those, the older guard wants more, which I find hysterical. Larinaga at Miami, Jim Boeheim, they've both have been on the record for 20, 30 years at wanting the bigger tournament.
And they cite the expansion of college basketball to where they were as to how many teams. There's over 300 teams playing Division I basketball. And it's a laughable excuse or rationale, in my opinion, but that's what they keep going to is the percentages decrease as the number of teams getting in the tournament. And all this is so that a 7-10 in-conference Illinois team can qualify for a tournament.
Boeheim's
trying to pick on Illinois, but that's who it is.
Boeheim's idea has been the 32 conference champions get the automatics, and then the first round is divvied up amongst the 64 at large. So in theory, the little guy who won their conference tournament would actually get a first round bye and would play in the second round if you went with Jim Boeheim's idea. All right. But there are a lot of coaches that think if you go much beyond, say, 72. Okay. Another idea that I heard, Mark, is that it gets to about 76, that you do 4 play-in games in all 4 regions. So I don't know, that would take it to 76, I guess. But now I will say they're not anywhere close to expansion on the NCAA basketball tournament. They're clearly well down the road about expanding college football to 12. It's just a matter of, can they do it by 2024 or are they going to have to wait to 2026? By the way, Vince Dooley, 90-year-old former Georgia coach and AD, out of the hospital after a nearly week-long bout with COVID. Thursday night football tonight. Ho, ho! It should be a
Woo-wee!
dandy. And by dandy, I mean 1-4 Washington at 2-3 Chicago. It's a pick'em, and the over/under is 38. Wentz has been sacked 20 times, third most in the league. He's thrown 6 interceptions. However, the Bears offense, I mean, Mark, which stat do you want? Points, they're tied for 28th. Yards, they're 31st. Washington, meanwhile, offensively, yards, they're 19th. Points, they're 26th. So that's right. You've got the Bears tied for 28th and the Commanders at 26th. And you wonder if the over/under is a little high at 38.
Wow. Scoring's down, and they give us this game.
Remember, 20-17s and under. Other football news. I got to admit, I don't know who Michael Balco is. He's a journalist. He covers the NFL. He tweeted out last night, numerous people that he's talked to in the Green Bay Packers organization are operating under the belief that Aaron Rodgers is retiring at the end of the season. In fact, Balco went so far as to say that Rodgers has told them this will be his last year. It's the first we've seen of that, right? Heard of that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Fascinating situation going on with the Dolphins and the quarterback situation, because Tua was able to practice yesterday, but he can't play Sunday. He's out. Meanwhile, Teddy Bridgewater, not cleared to practice. He's going to be the backup Sunday, which is interesting. Skylar Thompson getting the start at home for the Dolphins, who are 3-point underdogs to the 4-1 Vikings. Jameis Winston was back at practice. That's the good news. The bad news is the head coach has not said he's the starter. Andy Dalton has had the last 2 starts. He's split 2 games, but the Saints offense has operated better under Andy Dalton. Granted, Jameis got hurt early again. The 2-3 Saints are at the 2-3 Bengals. The Rams have been accused of lowballing Odell Beckham Jr. The source on that is Odell Beckham Jr.
Pretty good source.
The Rams then had to come out yesterday because apparently the fan base really wants Odell Beckham Jr. back.
Have you watched the product so far?
As a matter of fact, I have.
Would you want Odell Beckham Jr. if you were the fan base?
In fact, I'd take him injured. I'd take him now. I can only run 60%. That's okay. That's better than half of what we got.
Space than Robinson's been getting out there,
right?
For crying out loud.
Devontae Adams was charged with assault for that post-game shove of the ESPN photographer. He faces anywhere from a fine to 180 days in prison. Dak, by the way, back at practice testing his thumb, but as of now, the Cowboys are planning for Cooper Rush to start Sunday night in Philadelphia against the Eagles. Day 2 of the NHL season in the States and North America. The Avs raised the banner mark, and then Arturi Lehkonen had 2 goals and assists. Mikko Rantanen had 4 assists. Valerie Nichushkin with 2 goals. Hell, I didn't even mention Nathan McKinnon. That's how deep this team is. They beat Chicago 5-2. Same score, Bruins over the Caps. David Pasternak with a goal and 3 assists. Montreal edged Toronto. Josh Anderson with the game-winning goal with 19 seconds to go, 4-3. Freddie Anderson, 31 saves for Carolina in their 4-1 win over Columbus. The Kraken blew a 4-2 lead and lost in overtime 5-4. My son-in-law has decided he wants to be a hockey fan, and he's decided he's a Kraken fan.
Ooh.
So he's living in Jacksonville, Florida, but he's bought the Kraken gear, and he's rooting for the Kraken.
It's going to be a tough. If he can hold on until they're actually good, that'll be impressive.
That's what I told him. I said, hey, 2025 at the earliest, just so you know. Edmonton 5-3 over Vancouver. This Connor McDavid guy had a hat trick and a helper. Panthers get their season underway tonight They're in Long Island taking on the Islanders. This is the 50th season for the Islanders, by the way. PGA Tour, the Zozo Championship. That's in Japan. Brendan Steele with a one-shot lead at 6 under. LIV Series is in Saudi Arabia. And speaking of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Golf is funding the Ladies European Tour event, which is at a Trump property in Ferry Point, New York, which is technically the Bronx. It gets underway today. It's 54 holes. It has a team element and no cut. And the biggest purse on the Ladies European Tour. And every dollar is coming from Saudi Arabia.
Where's the outrage?
I will say there was at least a story about it in the New York Post yesterday. Now, the story was basically what you just asked. Can I just point out what you all got bent out of shape about 3 months ago? And can I just point out what's going on here this week?
Yep. Okay.
And finally, they indicted those 2 fishermen accused of stuffing the fish with lead weights.
We got weights and fish.
They're facing attempted grand theft and a few other counts.
Good.
All right. Listen, there's no doubt they should never be allowed to, play tournament fishing again and all that. But how long you putting them in jail for this?
I don't know. They won over $400,000 last year in fishing tournaments.
But we don't have evidence that they cheated to win the $400,000. We just have the evidence.
We do in one of the tournaments because they failed a polygraph test. So
okay.
I mean, this is the second time that they've been caught cheating. So
would you give more than a year?
No.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering. But anyway, they indicted them. There you go. And that, gentlemen, was
the Starting Five every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So that got you up to date.
Poll question is up, David.
What is it?
It's based on naps. How many do you take a week? 0, 1 or 2, 3 or more? We know where Moulton's vote is.
No doubt.
And we're all jealous.
Yep. I nap like I buffet.
Often.
And hearty. Yep.
Terrific show on your way. As if the first hour on naps wasn't riveting. We'll talk with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side. Matt Cannata also to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. Roy Cummings and Dr. Roto still ahead on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com, flgolfcarts.com. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Morning, Pat.
You know, Adam, that's an interesting analogy that pickleball's highlight, because growing up in the Northeast, they had highlight was big in Connecticut, and we would see the ads on TV all the time.
Yeah. Up 95, they had like 3 or 4 highlight places right in Connecticut.
Yep.
You play
Morning,
pickleball,
folks.
Pat?
Most fixed game in the world.
I don't know. NFL football's getting close. No, I'm only kidding. You always open me up to have a nasty comment. That's a penalty. That sack there, that's a penalty. Yeah,
Well,
I never understood highlight betting wise.
No.
It was a dog track right near there. When we take the ferry over from Bridgeport, from Port Jefferson to Bridgeport, and there was a highlight place there and a dog track. I went right to the dog track, and then they had minor league baseball was there too, right at the ferry stop.
I never understood highlight. I have to admit, I don't get cricket either.
Cricket's a baseball with just first base. First and home. It's terrible. My wife and I used to go to Bermuda a lot. We always were there when they had the cricket national championship. So we'd go to the thing. It was amazing. People gambled the whole time with the dice. The game's going on. The games could take forever.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, it's boring.
They do make baseball seem quick.
Yeah.
Pat, do you know that apparently this like LIV golf league, that the basis of it is cricket? That apparently in India, some guy in the last 5 or so years threw a bunch of money in, because apparently, like you mentioned, cricket takes forever, and apparently there's not a lot of money in it. So this guy said, tell you what, we're going to play for a month. We're going to make these matches a lot shorter, and I'm going to get the best cricket players in the world. And like the international cricket community was like, if you go and play in that, you're banned for life. And those guys were like, yeah, we make 100,000 a year in your league. We could make $1 million in a month here. We're playing. And it worked. And apparently it's popular.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. And I mean, we all know they play all over the world, but India, the West Indies, all the island countries, it's a big deal. You go to Van Cortlandt Park up in the Bronx on Sunday, there'll be no less than 10 or 15 cricket tournament type games going on, and it's mobbed. They come from all over the world to play in those things. Crazy.
Didn't Major League Baseball have like an event where they played a game at a cricket stadium?
Oh,
That I don't know.
I don't know that.
I mean, they have played baseball that's counted in the standings overseas, but I thought they did it in Japan.
Well, they did the Yankees, Red Sox in London, and
right, and the Cubs Cards, I think.
Let me ask you: is baseball? I know it was invented here, but is baseball really an extension of cricket? Cricket's been around longer than baseball. A lot of Europeans came here and eventually invented baseball.
Anyways, sorry about your buddy, Pat.
Oh, I got three deaths in 3 days. It's terrible.
Good gracious.
Darn it! It's all women too. There's the wife of my broker, who I've been friends with since high school, my best football player when I was a high school coach, he lost his wife, and then
Come back, guys.
the next day, the middle linebacker from that team lost his wife, who I knew since they were 14.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday, and a day early and an hour early. It's Pat Kirwan of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between, a few of them battered and then some. But Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Good morning, Pat. How are you?
Good morning, fellas, and appreciate you letting me come on Thursday. I've got some personal things I have to take care of tomorrow, but always an interesting week. I think two of the greatest games maybe of the regular season are going to happen this weekend, back to back.
I'm sure you're talking about tonight's game, Washington and Chicago.
No, I was talking about the rematch, Jacksonville and the Colts. First rematch game of the year. And it's interesting. Jacksonville shuts them out the first time, 24-0. And I wonder how many people are taking the Colts this time around.
I think many, because, like Mark has a theory about double headers in baseball that basically you always bet on a split. So you might as well just wait for the first game to end and just take the loser in the second game. It's tough to sweep a divisional opponent.
Yes, it is. Not a lot of sweeps going on. I know the dominating team in a bad division might, but you see a lot of times there's splits. So these are pro athletes. The guys who lost, especially when they're shut out, are going to pay. They're embarrassed, and they will play much harder, and they'll change things. When you shut someone out, do you think you ever change anything? You're going, hey, we just beat these. Why would you change anything? And since that game, Jacksonville, who I was excited about this year, our friend Trevor Lawrence is turning the ball over. But the most important thing I did all week was break down Lamar. And I put this out there yesterday. I don't really put a lot out on Twitter, but when I saw this, I said, let me go a little deeper. Lamar, we all know he's undefeated against the NFC. Big deal. 12-0. He's never lost to one. So I asked myself, well, why? What's going on here? When I looked at his rush numbers, and Pete Carroll said, when you play Lamar the first time, you don't really know how to play him. When I looked up his rush numbers in those undefeated 12 wins, unbelievable. 159 carries, 1,115 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So he's averaging over 13 carries and 7 yards a carry and 93 yards a game against these NFC teams that don't see him, that aren't ready to corral him, or they think they are, and then he burns them. So this will be the first time the Giants, and most importantly, Wink Martindale,
there you go,
is going to be going against the kid that he's seen since the beginning. But my man Lamar has owned the NFC. Will he own him again? So that makes that game very interesting to me.
Averages around 8 yards a carry, so obviously that number is big as to how many times Lamar actually runs the ball. You know, Pat, you were talking about teams that get embarrassed, and I remember listening to your show after Indianapolis was shut out. You had some very interesting stats about shutout teams. Do you take the same type of approach when you, like, Pittsburgh's not good, and they were embarrassed? Are you expecting a better effort, or is this a team that's not good enough to give a better effort?
I think the rookie quarterback thing, first off, if you really tally up how many pass plays they called, here's the kid in his first start against a superior opponent, and they took the cheese. They decided to try to play to win. So now they're asked the kid to throw. They had 57 pass plays called in the game. You got to be kidding me. He's not ready for that. Sometimes you have to try to lose with dignity. Keep it close, run the ball when you're down 2 touchdowns, because he's not ready to do the other thing. And he'll pile up some numbers, which he did, over 300 yards passing, but they are not a good team right now. They can't run the ball. And really, without the run game, you can focus on the young quarterback. So I think the goose egg, though, Mark, is the thing that kind of motivates them. Unfortunately, I've been around. We had a couple of goose eggs, and we won the week after a shutout. And I started tracking it way back then, and I wouldn't say it's 60%, but close to 50% over a long period of time, they win the next week. And that's to your doubleheader theory.
Well, also, I do think there are times, Pat, in which all of us, even someone like you who has spent most of your adult life in and around the NFL, you know, these guys are professionals. There is a lot of pride here and just enough ego at times that, man, you embarrass a professional the next week, unless they've quit on the coach and on each other. But if they're still all in, you embarrass a professional, you're going to get their best effort the next week.
Yep. That's why I think we love the NFL. We see, I don't follow baseball like I used to, but I've seen teams score goose egg or one run in the next week. They're, the next time they play, they're popping 8 or 9. So yeah, they are pros. Sometimes you have to remind them of the definition of that. But early in the season, when they're all still mathematically alive in the big race, they go home with their tail between their legs. They're going to come out fighting the next one. So that's a point to remember. And as I said, I probably will take the Colts this week, and I bet one of you two will as well.
I'm sure at least one of us will. All right. Before we get to some of the big games, we finally had the firing. Matt Rule fired in Carolina. We've had a bunch of college coaches fired this year. Those teams, after the college coach has been fired, have put up pretty good performances. A lot of them have won. Carolina's like a 10.5-point dog to the Rams, who aren't that good right now. What do you expect out of Carolina after Matt Rule got fired?
Yeah, well, it's PJ Walker's going to be. So this weekend, teams 10 and 11, that'd be Miami and Carolina, are putting backup quarterbacks in the starting role. So think about that. We're in week 6. We're going to have already 11 teams that had to start a backup quarterback. That tells you. And I can't believe when we're talking in the offseason, how few teams really try to get the best backup possible. So Walker got a couple starts under his belt. To me, the Rams still have talent. And I would think the Rams are going to call this the get-right game.
Pat, forget backup quarterback. New England, Miami, now Carolina are all starting their third-string quarterbacks.
Yeah, and how about half the league, David? When we talked about it in the spring, half the league only carries 2 quarterbacks, and the third guy's on the practice squad. So now even Carolina is going to have to activate their 4th guy who's on the practice squad. Can you imagine that room, the quarterback coach and those 2 guys? So yeah, look, they can write all the rules they want. Football's dangerous, it's violent, and there's 11 guys on defense trying to knock that guy out of the game. And so now we have this overreaction to sacks. Pete Carroll was on with me yesterday, and he said he was fully in favor of Bill Belichick's proposal from 8 years ago to challenge anything. And he said he would have challenged both of those sacks, the one of Brady and the one of Carr.
Pat, but who are you going to challenge them to? Because if the head official is the one calling the roughing the passer and he's the one you're challenging it to, this has to be New York, right? I mean, this the only way you can do this is to send it to the league.
Yeah, I love this, the command center, Mark. You know what? They haven't commanded a thing since they opened the door there. All they ever do is spot a ball on the one when someone thought it was a touchdown. That group, first thing I want to know is who's in that room and how qualified are they in there? And then, yes, sooner or later, we have to develop a way to put it back on them. But they should embrace this. They should not want their game to be discussed like the 3 of us are right now all this week. All because Tua got hurt, we're now throwing flags on what I'd call legal sacks. And so the game is being affected in a negative way. You think they'd like to clean that up.
But, Pat, I actually think most of us can understand a 1 to 2 week overreaction to something that took place earlier. I think we could. We'd be unhappy about it when it happened, but big picture wise, I think we'd give them a pass. But the problem is the league then comes out yesterday and more than doubles down on their officiating concerning these specific roughing the passer calls. I mean, the National Football League essentially said yesterday, yeah, those 2 sacks are going to be roughing the passer again this week and for the rest of the year. Pat, that's where they lose credibility with their fan base. I mean, come on, you have to be able to acknowledge
Yeah.
We're trying to protect the quarterback, but in these two cases, we did go a little too far.
I'm with you 100%. But unless we stop going to games or stop buying tickets, the data they live off is how are we doing? How's the size of the TV audience? How are the stadiums doing? How much can we raise the ticket prices? And they keep coming. So I maybe had 10 complaints yesterday about the sack calls. And I asked every one of those people, 8 men, 2 women, I asked every one of them at the end of their rant, are you going to the game this week? Oh, yeah. So unless that changes, unless there's a bit of when we all three of us know that's never going to happen, the league does what they want to do. And they look, the competition committee, I know they're going to send this to the competition committee. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to shuffle the papers around and then decide to do nothing. So I really don't have an answer, but the coaches want the ability to challenge that. And to Mark's point, who are you sending it to? Until this is the essence of their problem. They want the ref on the field to have full power. They don't want to take that away from them. They don't want to put a super ref in the booth. We've talked about it for years here. So do I think it's going to get better? No. I asked Cower, how do you coach pass rushers? And he just laughed and said, keep doing what you're doing and hope they're inconsistent.
Boy, that's the part that's got to be frustrating. And I think we're going to see more of these rap sacks where they're going to try to basically give the quarterback a bear hug and not take him to the ground for fear of a roughing the passer penalty, which is ludicrous.
I'm with you on that, Mark, but you got to be in perfect position.
Yes.
You had to leave your blocker. There had to be no one in front of the quarterback. And you look at half these sacks, guys are reaching over a blocker and getting one hand on him and trying to get him down. And then Chris Jones, his real job is to get the ball back. That's the essence of defense. There's the ball. He's got one hand on the ball. He actually puts and David pointed this out the other day. He tried to brace himself. This idea, look, I'm not going to mention names. Do the research. You'll know who designs these rules. It's very disappointing.
Well, Rich McKay and the competition committee need to be fired. Their time has come and gone. They need to start anew. And until they do that, we're going to keep complaining. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show, joining us a day and an hour earlier. And he joins us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Some very sexy matchups, Thursday night football excluded, that we will get to on the other side.
Matt Cannata still coming up. Roy Cummings to talk Bucks at 8 o'clock, and Dr. Roto to take your fantasy questions at 8:38. All still ahead on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey guys,
Yep.
real quick for the clutch play, the calls for the hat trick are horrible, and they're not even calls, and it's hard on the ears, and it's really just
Okay,
form.
then get the winning run get knocked in San Diego.
Okay, I'll do that.
Or in LA, I should say, but either that or that call of the Montreal, the game winner, John Anderson's game winner is pretty good.
Where are you heading to, and when are you heading out, David?
Tomorrow, Knoxville, Alabama and Tennessee. First time they've met when both were undefeated since '89. 102,000 crazies.
They waited a long time for that team to be decent again.
Yeah, it's been 15 years since they played for the conference title. First time they've been undefeated this late in the season since '98.
In the old days, this would reek of illegal recruiting.
Yeah, now illegal recruiting is legal.
Yeah, it's over. It's pro football.
Yes, it is.
It's actually wilder than pro football because there's no salary cap.
Yeah, I know. It's really insane.
Not only that, Pat, the Alabama starting quarterback Saturday will be making more money this year than, well, we could go down the list. Probably at least 6 NFL quarterbacks Sunday.
Daniel Jones is making less than $1 million.
Well, the word is Bryce Young's making $3 million in NIL money. So think about it. PJ Walker in Carolina. All right. Cooper Rush in Dallas.
Skylar
Thompson. All right. Who did you just mention again? Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is 965, 955.
What do first round guys make on their first contract?
Well, the big bundle with the signing bonus and stuff, they're going to make, I don't know, 30 million or so, but their yearly salary, which is what Daniel Jones didn't get the option year, so he's playing at for 965 or 955 and vulnerable to unemployment.
Well, and I'll be curious what Geno Smith's contract is. You know, I don't know if it's much more than what Bryce Young is making because he's still working off that backup quarterback contract, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably less. I mean, a quarter of the league could be making less than the Alabama starting quarterback Saturday.
Yeah. It's the way it is now. And now, do you really want that kid on your team? You know, when he gets to you, he might be ruined.
What I'm waiting for, the other domino to fall with this, because I know they're said roughing the passer penalties are way down, but they then need to start calling in the grasp earlier. Because
that's a fast whistle. You're right. You don't want that guy throwing the ground.
Then you need to say he's wrapped up. And the problem is, the quarterbacks are bigger, stronger than they've ever been before. Like, let's face it, he just retired, but we never saw Roethlisberger called for being in the grasp because he was impossible to get down.
Because he could throw the football when he was in the. That's the other thing, guys. These quarterbacks can all make a pass in the grasp. Unless you're holding their right arm, they can get rid of the damn football.
Well,
they've all got a running back or a tight end that's been held back to block that they can throw it at his feet and not have a grounding call.
No, it's got a chance to ruin the game. Look. What, the Giants ever going to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl if they had a fast whistle on in grass?
No, Eli would have been in the grasp.
Yeah, it would have been over right there.
One of the most famous plays in the history of the league.
It is tackle football.
Well, depends if they're wearing dresses.
Hey, so you're the guy who told him to say it.
No, I didn't.
I know you didn't. You just decided to repeat it.
10 seconds.
But I did tell him not to back down from it.
All right, yeah, at that point, keep going. He gained more friends than he thinks.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan, a day and an hour earlier than normal. You know Pat, NFL Radio's moving the chains weekday afternoons. He leads right into Thursday Night Football tonight. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh.
All right, Pat, let's get into some of these big games. Obviously, we've seen this Chiefs-Bills game before. The Bills, slight favorite. What is it you're looking for in this game?
Well, first off, just this, the statement you made, the Kansas City Chiefs as home dogs. We've been around a long time, the three of us. You don't see that very often.
First time, so with Mahomes as quarterback, that he's a home dog.
Yeah. So, they are pro athletes, but they do get inspired by the foolish things in life. And that might be insulting enough to have them revved up and ready to roll. So what stands out at me as the biggest glaring question, and that's the Kansas City defense. When you look at this now, it doesn't happen like this all the time. And a lot of games, they're just as good. But really, these two offenses are significantly great. And I would think that the Buffalo defense, at least by me, is considered one of the elite defenses in the league. So the one group that has the question mark on them is that defense in Kansas City. And then you go look at what Josh Allen did. He had 625 yards of passing last year in 2 games against Kansas City. He was involved with an offense that generated 74 points, and he threw a ton of touchdowns, 7 of them in 2 games. So that still, to me, is the ultimate question. Can Kansas City's defense, I know that the quarterback, Mahomes, and them will respond to scores. I would say 3, 4, maybe 5 lead changes because both quarterbacks can deliver. But at the end of the day, the pressure to me is on the Kansas City defense.
Which is funny, Pat, because to me, this is the team, obviously, that Buffalo has made their offseason moves to challenge for a couple years now. I mean, going out and getting Von Miller, drafting of the young pass rushers, no Tre'Davious White again for this game. I'm curious. The Bills beat up on bad teams, but their defense doesn't always show up against the really good teams. I'm curious. Can that pass rush and can that secondary hold up against a team that they normally get torched by?
It's as I said, 4 or 5 lead changes. When I saw 53 points on the over-under, I said, that's not high enough. They will never write down 60. And Mark and I have talked about that before. But you're going to push these two quarterbacks all game long to perform at the highest level they can. So, yeah, it's not going to look pretty on defense for either one. But at the end of the day, I just think that there's still a challenge on Kansas City because they don't have, in my opinion, they don't have the rotation of pass rushers required. When you play against Josh Allen, you got to chase him around. He's going to make – I guaranteed if I charted this game, the D-line for Kansas City would run an extra half mile of sprints, which is what it is. When you're chasing guys, you got to pursue this guy. He knocks you down. So they don't have the rotation that Buffalo has. Buffalo can roll 8 guys in. And again, Pete Carroll was talking about this game with me as he said, when you play against these guys, you need 8 guys in the rush package because they can't keep going. And I think that's where things could fizzle. Frank Clark, you're going to ask Frank to rush the passer 55 times? He can't do it.
How do you set up your defensive mentality in a game like this? From a defensive coordinator standpoint, when you know the over-under's there and you know you're trying, how do you plan for a game when you realistically know you might give up 28 plus?
Well, the first thing I would think that you have to do, and I think it's been going on for a while if you're in Buffalo, is we've just seen a really bad design on covering Travis Kelce. Now they move him around a lot. So if you start thinking you're going to double him, you got to have two ways. You can have one when he's on the line of scrimmage, which he probably won't be a lot. And then you can, and when they put Cleveland Farrell on him, he's a defensive end standing up. That was too easy for Kelce to just, and they also know Farrell can't run with them. To me, it's a combination of two athletic, a strong safety and a corner. That's the kind of athletes you need on him. And when you score 4 touchdowns and just run for 25 yards on those 4 touchdowns, that's the plan. What are we doing about Kelce, especially in the red zone? So I can't wait to see what they've come up with. But it's not going to be a defensive end, and it's not going to be a Sam linebacker. Kelce knows how to beat those guys. So it's going to have to be some combination of 2 athletes to handle him.
Sunday night, Cowboys and Eagles, only 1 loss between them. That was Dallas opening day with Dak against Tampa Bay. When you look at this, it's obviously the biggest test of the year for Philadelphia. How do they match up?
Well, we're going to see Cooper rush, so we're going to see a backup quarterback. He's done fine, undefeated and all that business, but they don't ask him to do a lot. Their offense, I think, is ranked 27th. To me, the greatest improvement for a good player has been the quarterback in Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. We thought of him as a runner, big in the weight room, but he's become a good passer. And I think that'll be the difference in this game. I think Dallas will win theirs at home. I love where Dallas's defense is right now. Danny Quinn's got them playing. They get off the ball up front. They can wreak havoc up front. They've got 2 special players. Like I say this a lot. Who do you have on your team that defies the X's and O's? Dallas has 2 on defense. Parsons and Diggs, not all the time with Diggs, but he can make a big play. Those 2 guys. So you address those 2 guys, and I think you got the game. I don't see this scoring as big as we see the other game at 4:00.
Dallas hasn't had to play anybody like Philadelphia, anybody like Hurts. What does Hurts bring that Dallas, do you think, will have trouble with? Or do you think the Dallas' defense still holds up in this game, even though you'd like Philly to win?
I think Dallas' defense will hold up, but as I said, this quarterback now in Philly can throw the ball effectively. And those receivers he has, those are good players. So, pocket passer. We never considered him that. We always thought, well, he'll create on the fly, get outside, maybe he'll run and he'll do some of that, but he is throwing the ball better. So I think that's where, they have some advantage in this game. And the home crowd thing, I think that's going to be a factor. It's loud in there and everything else. Cooper Rush in a place like Philadelphia, I think it'll be tough on their offense. So I would say I bet on Jalen Hurts in this one. Now, when Prescott gets back and the next time they play, I might see it the other way.
Pat, we're pressed for time, but we have 3 matchups of teams that are 2 and 3. Arizona at Seattle, Cincy at New Orleans, and New England at Cleveland. And I just see those games as season games. The winner gets the 3 and 3. They still think they're in it. Losers 2 and 4. You start looking at the trade deadline. I love games like this.
Yeah, they'll make or break time. The loser won't admit it, but you're right. They're going to start to see, and tiebreakers start going out the window in some of those cases. Not that any of them are in that position yet. Seattle has seen Kyler Murray plenty. They split with him last year. They beat him the second time. Right now, you look at what's going on with Geno. I mean, this is kind of remarkable, and they will put points on the board. Pete went out and got Bruce Irvin, 35 years old. But I asked Pete yesterday why. He said, we have got to have enough guys to handle this guy.
He's Pat Kirwan. You can hear him weekdays 3 to 7, NFL radio. The show is called Moving the Chains. And he's a big part of CBS's NFL Today show. And he's also a big part of Miller and Moulton, joining us normally on Tuesdays and Fridays, courtesy of Pinchers. Pat, our condolences.
Yep,
to the many that you have lost in your life. And we will talk to you again next week.
Yep. Enjoy the games this week, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Pat Kirwan, joining us a day early because unfortunately he's got a few funerals to attend to. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
We'll dive into the Dolphins with Matt Cannata next. Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Doug, two things. I don't live in the 239 anymore, but my overwhelming guess is no, because the Bucs Steelers is on Fox at 1:00. And I would have to guess in Southwest Florida that the Bucs on Fox, they take precedent. So you're going to have to go elsewhere to watch the Vikings-Dolphins game.
Oh, that's right.
Because it also is on Fox. By the way, did you see what the compromise is for the Mariners-Seahawks situation on Sunday? If there's a game 4, they're going to move the Seahawks game back an hour and a half. So it's going to be a 5:30 Eastern start, the football game.
Oh, they're going to move it. Okay, I got you.
So what I think happens is the baseball game gets underway at like 12:30 local, and then the football game would get underway at 2:30. So I guess now I can tell you there's not enough parking there at all to be able to have 110,000 people literally across the street from each other. But so I guess the thought process is that all the baseball people will be in the stadium right around the time when the football people then start showing up. And then the baseball people will all leave and be gone. And then hour later, the football people will be leaving. So that's the compromise. They're pushing the NFL game back 90 minutes. Which also does what? It ends the football game basically by kickoff of Sunday Night Football. So NBC doesn't freak out too much. Although, Paul, you do have to admit sometimes regular season hockey gets officiated a certain way that we all laugh about and go, yeah, it ain't going to be called that way April through June.
He thinks they're going to get beat, Adam. Morning, Matt.
Hey, guys. How are you?
So when are you making your announcement?
Oh, maybe I could break it on the show, right? We are we'll be launching collegefootballnetwork.com in a few months. So
awesome.
That is the big announcement. That is the big announcement. Yeah. Later this morning.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's time to we've done a lot with college football, and so it's time to break off and start its own site.
Wow. Have to send you a resume.
Send it over. You guys see the Commanders report that just came out?
No.
Oh, explosive from ESPN.
I saw it on the TV, but I obviously didn't hear it. So another Snyder bomb?
Yeah, it's just kind of like how he has dirt on all the owners, which is why they're hesitant to remove him. And dirt on Jerry Jones, dirt on Roger Goodell that could blow up the league, this and that. It's crazy. Long read, but give it a look when you can. When you can.
Good. After the show reading, I love it.
That's so funny though, because Jera's been his biggest defender.
That's what kind of the article was talking about.
30 seconds.
Now, do you want to mention the first thing on the air or no? Or do you want to wait till you announce it on your terms?
Oh, you could ask me. I'll give your audience a little spoiler.
All right.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
It's 22 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Roy Cummings at the top of the hour. Dr. Roto with all your fantasy football answers 1 hour from now. So next hour, get your questions ready. You could even send a few of them in on the text line in the Twitch chat room sometime next hour. Dr. Roto 1 hour from now. Matt Cannata, kind enough to join us once again from ProFootballNetwork.com, ProFootballNetwork.com. Follow Matt on Twitter, Cannata, 2 N's, 1 T, PFN, Cannata PFN. You can follow Pro Football Network on Twitter at PFN 365. And you sent out one of those tweets 21 hours ago that said, we got a big announcement coming up tomorrow. So,
yeah.
Would you care to share the big announcement, or are you going to wait till a certain time?
Yeah, no. Let's give the fine people who tune into this show every day a little spoiler, and we'll be announcing this on our platforms in just a few hours. But the big news is that we have grown Pro Football Network quite a bit over the past 3.5 years or so. It's all a blur to me. And what we've been doing over the past year and a half is producing more college football content. And what we've seen is the increased market share around that. And so the big announcement today will be that we are launching collegefootballnetwork.com in January. With a gradual rollout, we will have our college football Twitter account on Saturday, CFN 365, start with the college football games, and then a gradual build up to the logo reveal and then the website launch in January that will then lead in to the 2023 season. So where we're going from, where we're still doing pro football, we're building another business property, college football, and we're going to look to make our mark in that world as well.
Congratulations. Fantastic news. If it's anything like Pro Football Network, college football fans should be very excited about the content that is coming their way for Saturdays, because we're already getting a ton of it on Sundays. Let's jump into Sundays and one of the teams in our backyard, the Dolphins, now with their quarterback situation. What the hell is going on? I mean, we have one quarterback who's in concussion protocol practicing. We have another quarterback who's in concussion protocol. We're not sure if he ever had a concussion. He's not practicing. And Skylar Thompson looks to be the starter.
It's very interesting what Mike McDaniel said yesterday. And I'm looking at one of the quotes right now. And basically what he's doing is he's taking a rookie QB who has never made an NFL start. I mean, you could say Sunday was basically a start because he was in on the second play, but he didn't get the reps that a QB1 would get during the week. It was very cryptic in a way, because what McDaniel said is, what gives me the confidence is that I wouldn't do it if I didn't think the team would agree in terms of their confidence in Thompson. You're always trying to keep the pulse of how everyone feels. And then he's continued on. He said, but also it's not just about the quarterback. It's about the collective group of individuals together. He's going to have the opportunity to have all the full speed reps. So what it sounds like, right, because Wednesday is the first day of practice, and Bridgewater, I believe, is going to be cleared today at some point to practice. So realistically, you could have just had Skylar run the first team reps today yesterday at practice, and then bring in Bridgewater and get him the rest of the reps leading up to Sunday. But what's interesting is that the locker room, it feels like, through what McDaniel was saying, that they believe more in Skylar Thompson than they do in Teddy Bridgewater. And there's something about Skylar that they may have seen on Sunday. Regardless of the outcome of the game, that was a tough spot for Skylar to come in, for anybody to come in like that. And they were still in position to win the game in the fourth quarter. The score was not, obviously, for those who watched it, how the game really went throughout. And so it's just very interesting that the locker room seems to have more faith in Skylar to lead them to success than Teddy Bridgewater. That's at least how I'm interpreting Mike McDaniel's comments from yesterday.
Can I focus on the other side of the ball? You know, we wondered coming into the season, who was calling the defensive signals last year? You know, was it Flores, or was it the defensive coordinator who was kept on? Now, yes, they have had some injuries and to some key people, but their defensive stats are all, Matt, seemingly in the bottom 25% of the league. Yeah. Now, granted, they've played some good teams and good offenses. So is this just, hey, it's a bad time to be taking a look at these defensive stats? They're going to get some guys back. They're going to play some lesser opponents coming up after the Vikings, and this will all level out? Or is this defense not the same defense it's been the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. I don't think it's as bad as what it seems to be, but I don't think it's as good as it was last year. There were whispers around Josh Boyer, and like you just mentioned, whether he was calling the plays or not. And there were whispers last year that perhaps Gerald Alexander, I believe the defensive backs coach from last year, or even Brian Flores was calling the plays and had a huge hand in the game plan. Neither are with the team anymore, right? And what we saw last year, remember, that sudden shift at some point in the season, and I think we talked about it when I came on your show too, is, you know, why are the Dolphins all of a sudden playing like a different defensive team when they had the same defensive coordinator? We had heard rumblings that, you know, somebody else was either calling the plays or just being way more involved in the game plan than they weren't before. I think also, though, you have to recognize that Xavier Howard has been banged up this year, and it doesn't look like the same player he was in years past, which I think the Dolphins knew, but they had to do the deal, right? I think it was one of those where, you know, he only has maybe a few more years left of high quality play, but you have to do that kind of deal for locker room morale, for optics, for fan bases, and so forth. You also don't have Byron Jones, who has shown no signs of being close to returning yet. And so you also have to, you know, give that a fair shot. I think you have to look at the improvement of Christian Wilkins, but also not so much a regression per se when you're not looking at the box score, but Jalen Phillips hasn't been making the impact that he was making toward the end of last year as well. So there are still questions on the defensive side of the ball. It's certainly fair to question what's the difference between this year and last year. And I think it's a very nuanced conversation that has a lot of different moving parts in it.
Well, and Matt, that to me doesn't bode well for this Sunday, because Minnesota comes to town. They're throwing the ball really well. This offense is clicking. And this seems to be the recipe that gives Miami fits, doesn't it?
Justin Jefferson might have 800 yards in the first half, right? It's I've been trying to think about this game from a fan perspective, from a football media perspective, from the Dolphins perspective the past few days. And I went to bed last night thinking, the NFL is so funny. Like, you think that something's going to happen one way and it doesn't happen, right? But Xavier is expected to play on Sunday, and whether or not he shadows Justin Jefferson remains to be seen. Obviously, Adam Thielen is not quite the player that he was in years past, so the Dolphins get a break there. You still have a bruising runner in Dalvin Cook and a QB in Kirk Cousins that is at best inconsistent, so you never know which version you're going to get of him. But yes, a team that can open the field, downfield, in the middle. You go Jefferson deep, you go Thielen in the middle, you pound the ball with Dalvin Cook. Those are the kind of teams, you're absolutely correct, that will give the Dolphins fits. I would be very surprised if the Dolphins were victorious on Sunday against the Vikings.
And also, one of the things that we wondered about with the Dolphins, and I still don't know if we have an answer yet, it is early, is, hey, can they run the ball? Because you would think this is the exact game that whatever running game you got to throw it out there this week. Your third string quarterback, you're playing a dynamic offense, you're shorthanded in the secondary. What do you want to do? Run the ball, slow the game down, less snaps for the opponent. So, okay, we're a third of the way into the season, basically. Do the Dolphins have the running game to help Skylar out?
Yeah, you look at what happened last week. You saw Raheem Mostert get a lot more carries, and he was somewhat effective moving the ball. He obviously has a speed. Chase Edmonds has seemed to have fallen a bit on the depth chart. We actually even saw Myles Gaskin get quite a few carries as well, and he'll be interesting to watch on Sunday because the trade deadline is less than 3 weeks away, and the Dolphins want to highlight him in some kind of trade. Nothing obviously of great value, but you could see him get more reps as well. To your point, though, of trying to control this game, as I was talking about, the Vikings offense, it kind of maybe a little light bulb went off in my head about Skylar Thompson. And I think maybe the Dolphins are expecting a shootout on the offensive side of the ball. I think Teddy Bridgewater is your game manager guy who you can play a really tight game with the tight defense and eventually just try to grind it out. Skylar seems more like the guy where you need to air it out and go toe-to-toe with somebody, even if his skill set isn't in the sense of he can lead a team to do that, he at least has the ability to air it out effectively, and the results will be what they will. But certainly the Dolphins need to control the clock. They need to limit their defensive time on the field. They haven't been great at that lately. They were on the field quite a bit against the Bengals. They seem to have very long drives against the Bills. They were on the field for 90-plus snaps in weather that was 100-plus degrees. And so certainly it would be in their best interest to milk the clock. I just don't know if that's in Mike McDaniel's DNA. Obviously, he's a very strong proponent of the run game. He focuses on the run game. But in terms of the Dolphins' ability to effectively do it throughout the game, I'm not quite sure. You have the speed guy in Mostert, but after that, it's a little iffy.
Andy Reid never relied on the running game. He's starting to rely on it a little bit more. They are a very different team this year than in years past. Do you think we'll get surprised and see Kansas City play it a little closer to the vest, or do you see Buffalo and Kansas City as being a wide open game?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe Kansas City will want to, try to keep it close and maybe not keep it close, but try to control the game. I'm not sure that the Bills will allow them to do so because remember, the Bills have their own issues with the running game as well. And so if the Bills start airing it out and they get up ahead, I saw a stat yesterday, I think in the 2 times that Josh Allen has went up against the Chiefs defense, he's thrown for 8 touchdowns and like 600+ yards. Ironically, he's 1-1 in those games. So it just shows how good the Chiefs are. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Chiefs offense is not exactly what it was in years past with the downfield threat with Tyreek Hill. Obviously now with the Dolphins, you have Travis Kelce up the middle who had a wonderful game this past weekend with the touchdowns, not so much reception as with the touchdowns in the red zone. I think the Chiefs may want to try to do that, but I don't think the Bills are going to allow them to do that.
He's Matt Cannata, ProFootballNetwork.com, ProFootballNetwork.com. You can follow Matt on Twitter, Cannata, 2 N's, 1 T, Cannata PFN. You can follow Pro Football Network on Twitter at PFN 365. And a big announcement coming up later today about a brand new site. So pay attention to that. Mark asked on our show yesterday, who's the next NFL coach to be fired? He nominated Ron Rivera. I didn't answer it, but upon further review, I say Cliff Kingsbury. Do you think there's a coach who's in danger of being fired soon? Or Kenny in our Twitch chat room here asks, hey, does Hackett get fired if he loses tonight?
Oof. That's actually a great question, but you have to wonder. That's a great question, Kenny. You'd have to wonder what role Mr. Walton had in the hiring of Hackett. Remember, he wasn't the owner yet of the Broncos, but obviously he was in conversations, and maybe he had some influence in who that head coach would be. If he didn't have any say at all in there, if he didn't try to wield any influence during that process, it's a possibility. I'd be surprised, but there's been rumblings, and I think I may have said it last week, I'm not quite sure, that Hackett was brought in to try to bring in Aaron Rodgers. That was one of the primary reasons, and they didn't get Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, they got Russell Wilson, who they thought could be just as good, although we have not seen that this year at all. It would be a surprise, but it would be one of those things where you're not like, okay, this isn't totally surprising. Ron Rivera, maybe the Commanders' culture is so toxic that you never know which way you're going to go. And Ron Rivera has been in kind of the sense, at least externally, a good soldier for that organization and not throwing anyone under the bus. Cliff is I think the probably most likely. I don't know how trigger happy the Bidwells are. I don't know, with everything going on with them hosting the Super Bowl this year and everything else, how that might play into something like that. That's more like inside baseball stuff that I'm not totally in tune with. But people were talking about when the Cardinals played the Panthers 2 weeks ago, that could be the coach who gets fired bowl. Cliff has certainly not lived up to expectations. I believe he didn't even have a winning record in college. So to bring him to the NFL in the first place was kind of a eye opener. And he's proven to be that same kind of guy that he always was in college. He has a 26-27 career record right now as head coach of the Cardinals. He was basically a 500 coach in the college level. And so he is who he is. That Nathaniel Hackett question, though, is getting me. That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
Matt, thanks for your time and your insight. Best of luck announcing the launch of collegefootballnetwork.com later today.
Thanks, guys. Always great to be a part of the show.
Matt Cannata, profootballnetwork.com, Cannata, 2 N's, 1 T, PFN, Cannata PFN on Twitter.
Miller and Moulton, pretty good 7 o'clock hour. We'll keep it rolling in the 8 o'clock hour. Roy Cummings coming up next, then our Clutch Vodka play of the day, and get your questions ready for Dr. Roto coming up at around 8:40, right here on Miller and Moulton.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving clutch vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, it happens, Logic Man. It happens. We are, Kenny.
I think I'm going to have to start bringing a sweater in here. Sweatshirt.
Okay.
It's cold.
It's that cold in here. Like I sit on my hands for most of the last 2 hours to keep warm.
It's absurd, too. Costs them so much money. I can't believe that they continue to do it. And to have it that cold during the part of the day when the least amount of people are in the building, too, makes no sense. Like, I'd understand if at 8 o'clock, 8:30, the air were to kick on and it would start to get a little colder.
Kenny, yes, of course we did.
Yeah. Come on. We do sports for a living. It's a built-in excuse to be able to watch what we want more times than not. It's fantastic.
My wife literally says every night, is there a game you have to watch? And mostly on Tuesday and Wednesdays, I say no. But baseball playoffs, it's yes. It's good that I need the Yanks to win because it's a lot easier. She's a Yankees fan, so it's just a lot easier to throw a Yankees game on, and she's in. It's a lot easier to watch a game with somebody than it is to sit there.
Even though Jeter's no longer with the Yankees, she's still in?
Still in.
Interesting. Is there any Pirates fandom in her? Like
None.
if they were to ever, like 7-8 years ago, remember they had, they were decent. They made the playoffs like 3 times in 4 years.
Yeah, none.
Average Vikings fan, that's a great question. Am I fun all the time now? It's tough to judge during football season. I'm too busy. But that'll be an interesting question. I am fun on the road, though.
Are we going to have a rough couple of days, Adam? I'm not paying any attention right now because I don't have any money. And I'm not retiring anytime soon. So what we have in the market doesn't matter.
15 seconds. Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the third hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. We hope to catch up with Roy Cummings here coming up in a bit. 35 minutes from now, Dr. Roto will take your fantasy football questions. Many of you already on Plan B, maybe even Plan C. Dr. Roto to take your questions. Get them ready. Coming up in about 35 minutes.
That's where daily fantasy comes in for those of us that had rough starts in their leagues. I haven't given up yet, David, but the daily fantasy's done me a lot better than the year-long fantasy. So we'll be hitting Roto up for some DFS stuff for all of you that have moved on to phase 2 or phase 3 of your fantasy season. Much like the guy whose suicide poll that I'm in, he starts the year, and there's a lot of people in this suicide or whatever you want to call the league. But he has a suicide pool, and then about 4 weeks in, he starts the death pool. Once there's the week that everybody gets clobbered, he starts the death pool. And then a couple weeks later, he starts the ghost pool.
So Dr.
New York Football Giants took me out of the ghost pool in week 1.
Yeah, I could see that. That I would have been out early and often on the Giants this year. Needless to say, I did not see 4-1. I thought 1-4 was more of a possibility than 4-1. Interesting that they face Lamar this week. You know, former Ravens defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, now the Giants defensive coordinator. He obviously saw Lamar in practice for all those years, and you know, they just got done beating Aaron Rodgers. You know, I mean, the Giants have actually beaten both 1 seeds from last year, Tennessee and Green Bay, already this year, and neither one of them in Jersey. So, you know, is somebody like me going to have to at some point admit maybe they're pretty good? I'm not there yet, to be honest. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, you would have a hell of a time if you were doing one of those NFL power polls right now, because you'd still have them. You'd have the Giant. You'd have all these teams and ranked 21st, New York Giants, 4-1.
Honestly, I'd be the guy that, you know, the power top 10 or whatever. I might have the Bengals at 10 at 2-3 and the Giants, you know, out of the top 10. I mean, I really don't believe in them.
What would it take? I'm just curious as a fan. Because I would have thought your fandom would have been at the highest level last week, beating Green Bay. And the way that they did it was impressive, the way that they did it. It truly was.
It really was, Mark. And I caught the second half. You know, I got to Kansas City Sunday early, and a local establishment opened up a little earlier than they normally do because of the London game. And so I was literally sitting at the bar, 11 a.m. local time, with a beer in front of me, watching the second half of the Giants and the Packers. And their second half performance was actually inspiring. I mean, it was a team that really wanted to play. They clearly looked like they wanted it more than Green Bay. And I mean, for Daniel Jones with no wide receivers and literally on one leg, all right, to, you know, orchestrate 2 long touchdown drives against a defense that most of us think is top 10 in the league. You know, they didn't play like it necessarily in London, but it's the best win that franchise has had probably in 5 years.
No doubt. No doubt at all. And, well, the record is what it is. We'll see how much longer they can hold on. But we expected to talk to Roy Cummings this morning and hopefully going to hook up with him. But the Bucs, this is a soft spot on their schedule. You know, they started out with the win against Atlanta, even though it took every bit of what they had to get it. Now Pittsburgh's up next. This is the time for Brady and company to right the ship, David.
Well, they've got just a little soft spot here. Just a little soft spot. 3-2. They go to Pittsburgh. They go to Carolina. You know, this is where you got to take care of business. You got to get this division title in the rearview mirror as soon as you can. Get to 5-2, probably have at least a 2-game lead in the division if you do it. And not only that, if you go to Carolina and win, you'll be undefeated in the division. All right. First things first, get that X next to your name as soon as possible. And as we've seen, does it really matter anymore where these playoff games are played? I mean, honestly, does anybody out there think that it matters where these games are played? Now, Bills fan may say, I'd really like to take my chances with the games in Orchard Park, considering they haven't won a road playoff game since the 90s, early 90s. But, Mark, is there a team out there in which you're like, well, you know, if they have to play on the road, put a fork in them?
No, not today. You and I have been after this for at least a half decade, if not longer. That home field advantage has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. You know, we still think the only sport that truly has a home field court ice advantage is college basketball, because we think the refs are more easily influenced by a crowd that's right on top of you and fans and the like and all of those things. I don't think there's, you know, Vegas used to have a 3-point number for the home team. Vegas has dropped that at least in half.
I thought it was interesting what Bud Elliott said on our show yesterday, in which he still looks at college football as a 3.5, even up to 4-point advantage. And he said that this Saturday in Knoxville could be something even bigger.
But he said in certain places.
Right.
You know, he doesn't give it up to everyone, but he literally said this weekend, Knoxville, Neyland Stadium, this is different.
Right.
He knows
could be
100, 300, 405,000 people there.
So, you know, clearly, you know, the Gators opening night in the Swamp, you know, that was one of those magical nights. The crowd showed up and they were ready and they were into it before kickoff. You have those nights, but those nights and Sundays are few and far between.
You know, one of the places on Saturday we think is one of the greatest ones wasn't that way Saturday because, well, one, it was a 11 o'clock kick. Tennessee got off to an early lead, and not much is expected at LSU. The home field in college, I think you have to have that perfect storm, and that's what Tennessee has right now. An undefeated team getting their heated rival Alabama. Game day. Everything is lined up this weekend for the Vols. Every damn thing. Not to mention a Bryce Young that's, if he plays, is going to be playing at 75% of himself.
Can Tennessee handle the big moment? You know, like we've seen recently, Jacksonville couldn't handle the moment Sunday. They were poised to be in first place in the division Sunday, and they couldn't handle it. And all they had to do was beat the last winless team in the league. They couldn't handle it.
This might be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow, David. If you're Tennessee and you win the toss Saturday, don't you want the ball? And I know they won't take it, and I know they'll defer and all of those things, but isn't there a certain time that you just want to get your best unit on the field? And if Tennessee's best unit was defense against a 75% Bryce Young or a backup if he's playing, then I get it. Put him out there. But your best unit's your offense.
Mark, I think that whole last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half has proven to be so big. I actually think that's a bigger factor in the games than home field. I really do. The whole end of one half, beginning of another. How many times have we seen games get dramatically altered with, I mean, look at the Tennessee-Florida game. Tennessee ended up with last possession of the half and first possession of the second half, and they went from trailing to up 2 scores. And there are certain teams, usually the really good ones, who own that period of time. We see it with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the Packers are usually great ending the one half, beginning the next. And so, Mark, I believe because of that, Heupel will defer if he wins. But I do know what you're saying, that there are times in which you just think we're taking the ball, we're shoving it down there, and we're going to go up 7-0, and we're going to make this tsunami of noise continue for another half hour.
Because their defense is not good. And getting behind in this game changes perspective for Tennessee. So I know you're right. And I know there's, nobody does it anymore. We all defer. The coin toss has become symbolic, if at that. Basically, if you win the toss, you kick the ball now. Never was that. I mean, we generations where it wasn't that way. But I just wonder with this game and that offense trying to establish something in front of that crowd, if it would be the time to do it. We shall see on Saturday, but I would bet everything that you're right, David.
Roy Cummings now likely to join us at 8 o'clock tomorrow. 8 o'clock tomorrow, Roy Cummings will join us here on Miller and Moulton. Dr. Roto is 25 minutes away, so start preparing your fantasy football questions, and maybe in about 15 minutes or so, start sending them in, whether it be on the text line, FSN Radio to 21,000, keyword FSN Radio, all one word, no spacing, FSN Radio, send it to 21,000 if you never have before. Or if you're watching, following, subscribing to us on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel, then you could just send in your question in the Twitch chat room. Quickly, baseball. National League played last night. The two teams who lost game one both won last night. Atlanta evened up their series with a 3-0 win. San Diego, which had been dominated by the Dodgers this year. In fact, I don't know if they'd won a game in L.A. this year. Beat the Dodgers 5-3 to even that series. National League off today. American League, game 2s. The home teams are both up 1-0. Can Seattle at 3:30 even their series? Can Cleveland even their series with the Yankees at 7:30? Both games on TBS for those of you so inclined to watch.
And similar situation in New York today than what they had in Atlanta yesterday. Rain in the forecast, so they are not sure if they are even going to get this game in, which would then mean possibly 4 games and 4 nights for the Yankees and Guardians in that series, and what that will do to pitching matchups and of the like if the series were to go 5.
You know what's funny is if this were the regular season, they would move that Yankees game up to about 1 o'clock because the rain is coming in later in the day and in the evening. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, they push the game back to get it in. But it's the playoffs, and TBS wants the Yankees in prime time, and because of it, the game could get rained out.
Miller and Moulton. Our Clutch Vodka play of the day coming up on the other side. Dr. Roto in 25 minutes. So get your fantasy football questions in now to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686. Or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
We will ask Dr. Roto.
No! I got to drive all the way to Port Charlotte? Are you kidding me?
What for?
Kogel hot dogs. My Michigan dogs, unless I can get someone to bring them down for me from Michigan. There's a company that comes down twice a year and sells them. They usually come to Fort Myers, but they only have Port Charlotte on their list. I don't know if it's because of the storm or...
By the way, somebody asked about what does playing left-handed look like for the Vols? So are you talking about Tennessee making Alabama play left-handed?
No. He's just saying Nick and Belichick are the two best coaches making play. What does it look like? So what's Alabama going to do to Tennessee to make them play left-handed, I think is what the question is.
Stop their running game. And I know that, Hooker's had a really good year and all that, but if Tennessee can run the ball, Alabama's in trouble.
What's our clutch vodka play of the game?
Jake Cronenworth home run to make it 5-3.
He had 2 hits. 2 hits, 2 RBIs, including a homer. I think Nick feels if he can get Tennessee into obvious passing situations that they'll do a much better job than Florida at stopping it. Tennessee can rush the passer with 4. They can do their combo coverages on each side where they outnumber Tennessee. So I think Nick wants to take Hooker and the running game away.
That was an impressive bite right there.
Thank you.
That was
15 seconds.
Got your point in and the bite in all. 2 thumbs up.
And thank you. And that was a pretty big piece of turkey too.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our poll question, the show started with a tangent. I mean, it did. It was a pretty good tangent, though. I mean, there are times where we go off the rails, and I know you're all rolling your eyes going, man, somebody's got to get this show back on the rails. We kind of went off the rails. It was pretty good. It's about naps.
And how many do you take a week? Because Moulton is in the 3+ category of naps per week.
Oh, yeah.
Something we should all aspire to get to.
During football season, there's 5 months a year where I nap. It might be closer. It's closer to 5 than it is 2. Put it that way. I mean, that's how many naps I take.
But right now, 43% of our audience doesn't nap, David.
I'm sorry.
Yes. They work.
Right. No, I get it.
And can't even slip in a nap on the weekend.
Yes. And that's sad. I feel badly for you that you can't just doze off on a Saturday afternoon or
There's
even during.
I'm sorry, there's a quarter of a football game every week, David, that you can sleep through. There is.
Yes. I mean, like, maybe even if you come back from church, you can't doze off during the pre-games. I mean, come on. Seriously?
If you didn't get the half hour in church.
Right. Right. The key there, I always felt, was to not sit next to the significant other, that you needed a buffer. Because if you sit next to the significant other, eventually they'll catch you sleeping.
I'm only afraid of snoring. That's why I don't fall asleep.
So you can snore sitting up?
Yes.
Because I don't. And I am a jackhammer laying down, snoring, but I don't snore sitting up.
Unless I just fall to my side. But according to my daughter, who has been monitoring my falling asleep on the couch during the baseball playoffs, leaving the television on and then snoring, she tells me that I woke her up upstairs snoring, because you and I together have some value.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, we took a road trip one time in which, I mean, literally there was people next door who was wondering what was going on in our room. And we're like, we're sleeping. They're like, it sounds like jets taking off. But hold on. Are you sitting up or are you reclined at all?
I am reclined.
That doesn't count. I'm talking about sitting up. Like if you were on an airplane and you dozed off, would you be snoring?
It's possible.
See, and I don't.
It's possible. It all depends on how much I had to drink the night before. Because if I have alcohol, will make the snoring go up tenfold.
I fell asleep at the Monday Night Football production meeting before the Cowboys Giants. I had to go to the meeting to get the credentials. I ate breakfast after the show, and I just needed to make it through the meeting and go upstairs to nap, and I couldn't do it. I wasn't snoring, but apparently I was like leaning over. I had a lean going as I was sleeping, and Aikman caught me. And so he pointed it out to the rest of the room. Way to have my back, Troy. Thanks. but I wasn't snoring.
Wait a minute. He pointed it out to the rest of the room.
He did in the middle of the meeting. He said, "Hey, hold on. Everybody take a look at Moulton." And they literally, because they have about a dozen people on Zoom, and somebody took the computer and turned it around and had me.
That right there tops every a-hole move I've done.
I know.
Troy gets the a-hole of the month for that one.
And what am I going to say?
Not a damn thing.
No, I'm the caddy, man. That's Tiger. I mean, I just got to, pick the bag up and go. But yeah, he got me. Mm-hmm.
Someone asked in the Twitch chat room if we're louder than Fred and Barney. We are Fred and Barney. Let me just explain that to you. Moulton and I are Fred and Barney. I dye the hair blonde. We put a couple of those suits on. We're winning contests walking in the door. Do not kid yourself. Little dye job on each of our heads, and we're ready to go.
Done. And I can do the quick feet thing to start the car, too. I can do it. Or to slow the car down with the Brontosaurus burgers and ribs on the back.
Yeah, buddy boy.
Hey, buddy boy. So anyway, it's our poll question. How many times the Napa week? Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FloridaSportsNetwork.com.
I'm really impressed that 17% of our audience, though, is napping 3+ times a week.
There we go.
That's good. That's good on you. It really and truly is. I'm impressed, and very well done. And keep it up. Keep up the good work. Time now for our Clutch Vodka play of the day. That's Clutch with a K. Clutch Vodka with their parties at Seaside every week for you Dolph fans. The big Bloody Mary bar and great specials on Clutch Vodka coming to a Total Wine near you very soon. Felipe, what do we got?
Got a little Jake Cronenworth Padres home run in the 8th.
1-1. In the air to right. Mookie Betts turns around and watches that go for Cronenworth. And the Padres extend the lead in the 8th. It's 5-3.
Big win for the San Diego UPS guys.
It was. That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. That's Clutch with a K.
And wouldn't you just like to see, let's say the Phillies and the Padres can just get a split at home. I mean, it's asking a lot to sweep two teams that are better than you. But if you get a split, man, that's all or nothing, baby. One game. Because if you had said to both teams, just like with the Guardians and the Mariners, and before the series started, we go, hey, let's line this sucker up one game, game 5, for the whole marbles. They'd all be like, absolutely, let's go.
Would love to see both the Dodgers and Braves in a game 5.
You mean two teams combined who won 212 games?
Damn right.
Have to play.
Throw that type of pressure because the Dodgers have played the entire season without any pressure. They've been great from the word go. I mean, the Braves at least have had to deal with some turmoil. They started out lousy.
Right.
And then turned it on and had to fight the Mets all the way to the last game of the season. So the Braves have played pressure baseball. The Dodgers have not played a pressure game all season long.
And
this will be their really first one, game 3.
And they absolutely destroyed the Padres in the regular season. I mean, something like 14-5, 15-4, something ridiculous. And so now here's San Diego just, even the series. Yep. Little 1-1, 2-2 action. You send your best, and in theory, can the Padres, can they get Darvish on the hill for a game 5? I don't know if they can on full rest, but still, it'd be fun to see.
Fantasy football. That could be fun for some of you to see. It could be a nightmare for others, but Dr. Roto is coming up next on the show. So get your fantasy football questions in. You can tweet them at us. You can send them in the Twitch chat room. You can send them to the text line, which is 21,000. 21,000. If you've never texted the show before, FSN Radio is the keyword. FSN Radio, all one word. Text that to 21,000. Then you've passed the security gates and you can text as much as you would like with your fantasy questions or anything else for that matter.
Ryan says during baseball season, I get in a nap or two. Look at that. Taking a shot.
What NASCAR was for me for years. Nothing like putting those cars on making left turns. It would take me 8-10 minutes to go out. So I understand there are certain things. Golf on a Sunday is a nice sport to nap to.
Ryan, you want me to ask Dr. Roto your fantasy football question? You take a shot at my beloved baseball. Come on, man. Know your audience. I'll ask him just this once.
Might have to keep an eye on the Twitch chat room today as David is getting offended by baseball mocking shots. But we have 2 American League games tonight in the postseason. Hey, that really, Yankees, or are you going to watch Bears Commanders on Amazon Prime? Dr. Roto is next. Miller and Moulton. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Mello, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Yes, they're 1 for 34. And the Phillies are 3-1 during those 4 games. They're going to come around here real soon because they're too good.
Oh, my goodness. So a scramble tournament in Arkansas, David?
Yeah.
Promises a hole-in-one truck for the 10th hole. Guy aces the hole. They never got the insurance, and now they're backing out of giving him the truck.
Can't do it.
Not the dealership. The dealership didn't get the dealership never gave the club permission to do this. So there's like a little he said, she said. He's suing him. He'll win.
He'll win. He'll win.
It's a $53,000 truck, too.
Yep. Well, it'll be the last golf tournament. I don't think he does. I don't think Girardi gets another manager's job after that one. Do you know what's funny? The Mets actually had a better record from the time Joe Girardi got fired the rest of the season than the Phillies did. That's how great the Braves played.
I saw my neighbor for the first time since they lost the series. She was all PO'd.
Right.
I looked at her dead. I looked her dead in the eyes. I said, "How many Mets games did you go to this year?" 2. They lost both, right? So it's your fault.
Oh my God. You went there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She told me to F off 6 different ways. Her husband was laughing. She is very anti giving DeGrom big money.
That's becoming the sentiment in New York too.
I don't know where you are, but and I will say she's as good of a fan. And I'm, skip the Jen. She knows her Mets inside and out. She could sit down with you and have long. I mean, you guys could sit for an hour and talk Mets baseball. She's all in.
Here's my thing. If Cohen is sticking to, hey, it's not unlimited. I'm giving you $300 million. You should be able to build a really good team with $300 million. If that's the case, then the Mets have to move on from DeGrom because of the contracts that they've got out there, and half the team's a free agent, by the way. So they can't afford to keep him because they spent about $290 this year. But if Steve Cohen's basically like, here's a blank check, do what you got to do, well, then that's a different story. Then you offer him this much more than what you offered Scherzer. Scherzer got 3 for $43 a year. You offered DeGrom 3 for $44. Take it or leave it.
Damn, I got to do a Roto banner and I got to do a Cannata banner yet.
One minute. $30 seconds.
Hey, Doc.
Hey.
Oh, wow. You did video?
I didn't want to.
You didn't have to.
How do I not do it? Not even wearing my contacts. I can barely see anybody.
Well, fortunately, you don't have to. Okay. The computer can be just a big blob. Is that a Lions hat?
That is a Lions.
We're coming back.
Wow. Brave man.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour on a Thursday, and that means it's time for the doctor to make his weekly house call. He's Dr. Roto, DrRoto.com, drroto.com. Follow him on Twitter at guess what? Dr. Roto, DrRoto. Not only that, you got that new thing going in the last month. You do it like twice a week, a live show, right?
Oh, it's called the Better Sports Network, and it's on an app, and you can download it for free. And what I love about it, it's kind of like Twitch, but people can join in, people can comment, people can just pop on and talk to us. So it's really interactive. It's pretty cool.
Let's start out with the game that you think is going to go the opposite of what Vegas says. If there's a game out there, we all Buffalo and Kansas City, tons of points. Is there a game out there that you think has the ability to get high scoring that Vegas doesn't, or the opposite way, a game that you're going to fade this week, Doc?
That's a great question. Maybe San Francisco, Atlanta might be a little higher scoring than we think, and maybe New England, Cleveland. Here's why, especially New England, Cleveland. New England we always talked about this. I told everybody last week not to play TJ Hawkinson. Why? Because they're going to stop TJ Hawkinson. That's what they're going to do. Here, they're going to stop Nick Chubb. He is going to go all in to stop Nick Chubb, which means Jacoby Brissett has to throw the football. Now, if Jacoby Brissett is throwing the football, there may be a chance that there are more points there. So all of a sudden, guys like Amari Cooper, Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones become more relevant than they've been in a couple of weeks. So I think that could be a sneaky game, especially if Mac Jones comes back. I feel the same way about San Francisco, Atlanta. If Nick Bosa's not there, all of a sudden, now maybe there's more points in that game. So I think those games are in the low 40s, which could end up in the high 40s.
All right. Kenny in our Twitch chat room. And by the way, if you haven't got your questions in, time is running out. You can do so. Text line, FSN Radio, all one word, to 21,000, or via Twitch, the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel. There's a Twitch chat room, and submit your questions. Kenny in our Twitch chat room, Docs, asks, is it time to move away from Jonathan Taylor?
Well, no. I thought he was going to say it's a time to move away from Kyle Pitts. You can't move away from Jonathan Taylor. I mean, so look, you could try to trade him, but you're not going to get full value for him. You need him to come back. You need him to play well. You need him to have a big game, and then you can trade him. The problem is, I think a lot of the guys that were drafted early outside of Cooper Kupp and maybe Justin Jefferson haven't done what people thought they were going to do. I mean, Najee Harris was predictable. Jonathan Taylor was a little predictable, meaning he wasn't going to be as good as last year. Swift has been hurt. Javonte Williams is out for the year. So I get people's frustration, but you can't move on from your stars right now. Now you got to cling to them.
Pick one: Kenneth Walker III, ATN, Wilson Jr., or Dobbins.
I mean, look, right now, Kenneth Walker has to be considered a top 12 running back. Pete Carroll loves to run the ball. The kid is very good, like we saw last week. I think people were a little shocked. They shouldn't be. I mean, I know people who listen to your show watch college football. We saw what Kenneth Walker did last year for Michigan State. The dude can ball. Now, he's not great at catching the football. He's not great at blocking, but on first and second downs, he's going to be out there. ETN, look, there's some good games and some bad games. Dobbins, once again, he could be fine or not, but I think Walker's real deal, and Pete Carroll's going to run the ball.
All right, Ryan, who started with Trey Lance and Tua as his quarterbacks this year. So now he's a little desperate, and he's wondering which New York quarterback should he go with, Daniel Jones or Zach Wilson?
Yeah, really, really good question, Ryan. I am more in on Zach Wilson than I am on Daniel Jones, and here's why. Daniel Jones will never throw for over 300 yards. I'm not even sure he's capable of it. But Brian Dable's done a magnificent job of minimizing the mistakes, rolling him out, throwing short passes, trying to keep him doing what he does. When he gets Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney back, it'll be better. The Jets, though, but let me just say this, the Giants defense has been playing really well. So when a defense is playing well, you don't have these shootout games. The Jets defense sucks just enough that you can have these shootout games. Plus, you've got Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and Braxton Berrios. I kind of like Zach Wilson. He's got this gunslinger mentality, which Daniel Jones doesn't have.
Speaking of defenses, the Dolphins' defense has not been great. When you look at the Vikings this week, is that a spot where you might want to stack some players, Doc?
No, as a matter of fact, I like to go the opposite way. I think Miami's going to be one of the defenses that I play. I swear by what I'm telling you here, guys. When you think you know the NFL, please realize you don't know anything. I know I do. It humbles me, right? The NFL humbles me because when it's such an obvious play, the play is never obvious, right? Miami's looked horrible. People say Miami's been a horrible defense. Let me play the Vikings. Now what happens? Miami goes and sacks Kirk Cousins 8 times. He fumbles 3 times, and Miami wins like 27-17. And you're like, how did that happen? So I don't like Cousins on the road as much as like Cousins at home.
Along the Vikings line, a proposed trade, would you make it? Is Justin Jefferson worth Debo and Joe Mixon?
I just have a slight hatred for Joe Mixon because I just don't think he's as good as everybody else does. I mean, he's all right. He gets numbers, but only through bulk, right? I mean, this guy has to get 25 carries to get 80 yards. Debo's a special player. He is. So it's close. It's close. I mean, I just don't want to give up Justin Jefferson for anything. And I think when you think about it, think about the running back you're taking out of your lineup to make this trade. Who are you taking out of your lineup? My guess is I'm not going to like that trade.
Pick 2 out of these 3 for running back: Najee Harris, A.J. Dillon, James Robinson.
Well, Najee's got a tough one against the Buccaneers, right? Buccaneers run defenses there and Pickett. So that's a rough one. A.J. Dillon hasn't found the end zone in weeks, like since literally week 1. He's probably due. And then James Robinson, he was so good in the beginning of the season. But last week, he had 10 carries for 27 yards. I mean, 2.7 yards a carry against the Texans, who are one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. So there's got to be a little warning sign here. I probably will sit Robinson, but, all three of those guys are mediocre.
Along those lines, Adam, who's a Jags fan, wants to know which Jags running back should he play this week, Robinson or ATN. You were high on ATN at the fantasy draft.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, there were. It's funny. I was asking my son, who was I high on the draft at the summit? I can't remember. And he was like, "Well, Dameon Pierce, Travis Etienne." We were going through the names. I think Etienne's arrow feels like it's pointing up to me. The last couple of weeks have been good, and he's always. You hand the guy the ball, he could break off a 40-yarder. I just think that he's the guy that I'd be watching there. I'm a little worried about Robinson. The last couple of weeks, the last 3 weeks, haven't been as good as the first two.
Question on defense. Should I stick with the Bills or start the Bengals this week?
So look, the Bills are the best defense in football, but they're playing, Mahomes. That doesn't mean Mahomes is perfect. Mahomes could throw a pick or two. There could be a fumble. Here's why I would probably start the Bills. And I'll use it in a couple of seasonal leagues, right? I'll use it this way. I have Daniel Carlson. Daniel Carlson is probably one of the two best kickers in football. If I drop Daniel Carlson, somebody else in my league is going to get him. If I drop the Bills, somebody else is going to get them. I'd rather suck it up and lose than only get 3 points from the Bills this week than let somebody else in my league get them the rest of the year.
What do you make of Robert Woods? And should you dump him?
Yeah, he's kind of dumpable. So they're off this week. You may be desperate for a receiver. Even when they come back, how good is Robert Woods? 12 points a week? I'm not saying he's bad, but he's 12 points a week. That whole Titan passing game is just, they aspire to be mediocre. If they didn't have Derrick Henry, what would they do? So I feel like if you have to drop him, I would, but you better make sure you're getting a guy who can get you 12 points a week back in your lineup.
Who do you like for quarterbacks this week in DFS, Doc? Because there's obviously this big high point games, but there's, it's a position in DFS that I'm confused. I've had some good weeks where I've streamed the low guy and gotten lucky. I've not been going after the high dollar guy a whole lot, and I've had some weeks of good fortune. I've had some lousy weeks already. What do you see this week at the quarterback position?
Yeah, so I usually play three different entries, okay? And what I normally do will play one cheaper guy and, one middle guy and one expensive guy. Here's what I found. I'd rather be two expensive guys and one mid guy. I think the cheap guy, you've got to get really lucky there, okay? So last week I did pretty darn well in DFS. I ran it with Josh Allen. My teams were Josh Allen last week, Kirk Cousins, and Geno Smith. Right, I stacked that Seattle-New Orleans game. It could have gone off for even more. But I think, look, sometimes that quarterback position, you need a mobile quarterback. And Josh Allen, it's hard to pass on that guy. I mean, he could put up 30 points. Same thing with Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. I would err on the expensive guys. Right now, you can find cheaper running backs in DFS. You can. Go get Eno Benjamin. He's probably going to play over James Conner. Go get Kenneth Walker. Go get Ramondre Stevenson. You get a couple of those guys like that. I know they're going to be chalky, but you can afford Josh Allen.
All right. Remember, I'm the fantasy idiot amongst the trio here that's on the air.
That's your handle on Twitter?
Well played,
Soon
Doc.
to be mine.
But scoring's down this year significantly. And I'm wondering, has that altered any of your thinking about any team, anything, or do you just kind of take it and go, it's kind of like a golf tournament. Some year 14 under wins, some year 8 under wins. This year 8 under's winning.
No, it's really the pivotal question in fantasy is what you're asking, honestly, because I think stop playing guys on bad teams. I drafted Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet in too many leagues. What a bad life decision that was, right? They stink. Justin Fields really is bad. I don't care what anybody says. That may be his highlight last week. So if you get too many guys on teams that aren't scoring, you're not putting up fantasy production. Now, you could get lucky like Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is a great player on a bad team. right? But if you do that too often, it's going to burn you. So look at your fantasy leagues and look at the teams who are doing well. Most likely, they've got guys on good teams.
You gave us a couple of running backs, a couple of quarterbacks. What about DFS from the wide receiver position?
I know that I want to have Cooper Kupp in most every lineup. So I would think that there's a very good chance that my teams this week will start with Allen and Kupp, and I'll work around that, right? I'm not going to get too tricky. I also think there's probably sneaky value in the Giant-Raven game. The Ravens' pass defense is really bad. So whether it's a Richie James or a David Sills, you need a $3,000 guy. Like last week's $3,000 guy was Khalil Shakir. You're going to need a cheap guy like that. So hover around games where there's bad pass defenses and see if you can get lucky there. I'd rather get lucky with a cheap receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones I mentioned, Randall Cobb, Zacchaeus. I'd rather get lucky with a $3,000 receiver than a cheap quarterback.
All right, you've got Desperate at quarterback and Riches at quarterback. I'll start with Riches. Brisby asks, you go Cousins, Wilson, or Rodgers this week?
Which Wilson? Are we talking about Russell Wilson?
That's my guess.
I think I literally dropped Russell Wilson in 2 leagues. I just dropped him. Literally. I'm not even joking. I dropped him in 1 league for Zach Wilson. I dropped him in another league for Trevor Lawrence. I couldn't watch it anymore. Right. I will start him for, who was the third guy?
Cousins or Rodgers then?
Rodgers at home after an embarrassment last week against the Jets defense, which we know is meh. Give me Rodgers. He's going to have 3 touchdowns.
See if we've got anything else to wrap this up. And you've already said, what about Pitts? Is it time to cut Pitts? What are you doing there?
I don't think you can. I think what you have to do is try to trade him, because there'll always be a team in your league that needs a tight end. So I was able to trade Pitts. Did I get the best deal for him? I traded Pitts and DJ Moore, and I got James Conner, Devin Singletary, and Brandon Cooks back. Thought that was a pretty good trade, right? It got me out of a hole that I was in because DJ Moore hasn't done well either. So if you could make a trade that helps you in other areas, I'm with it. But just giving away for Hayden Hurst or something like that, you don't want to do that.
He's Dr. Roto. You can follow him on Twitter at Dr. Roto, DRROTO. You can also go to his website. Great information. He's put together a tremendous fantasy staff. DRROTO.com, drroto.com. And very quickly, once again, where do you do the free shows?
Oh, I do shows on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern. And I'm on the Better Sports Network. It's just an app that you download. I'm there Tuesday and Friday nights from 10 to midnight.
And how much do the Lions pay you to wear that Lions hat?
Not enough.
Doc, as always, we appreciate the advice. It helps every week make us money. We thank you.
I'm glad you guys are well and safe, and everybody out there, I hope you guys are doing all right.
Same with you, Doc, and your family. Dr. Roto on Twitter, DRROTO, and drroto.com. And I'm not a fantasy guy, but he has put together a tremendous fantasy staff on his website.
As we've talked about, though, if you know fantasy, then you know football, because it's about matchups and where points are that teams can expose their opposition. Tampa, St. Pete, Lake City, Port Charlotte, we thank you for listening. The bonus hour in the 239 is next. Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Wow. Good day for old people. Social Security raising by almost 9%. That big. Ask mom for a loan. No, Logic Man, we didn't.
No, Logic Man, we didn't ask about Malik Willis, because you're not going to see Malik Willis while the Titans are in first place. But I did ask your Robert Woods question, Logic Man. Well, and you might see Malik next year.
When is the NFL trade deadline? 2 weeks?
It's 19 days. It's 2 weeks from Tuesday. I believe it's the first Tuesday of November, or November 1st, because that's a Tuesday. I believe it's November 1st.
Are we voting on November 1st?
No, we're voting on the 8th.
Okay.
Adam, you hate them because they run your division. Be honest, you're jealous. Did we break down Thursday night football?
No.
We're trying to get people to continue to listen.
I'm telling you, that was part of my poll question this morning. I love our nap question was, what do you watch tonight? Baseball or that diabolical football game, or neither?
5 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Having some fun with our poll question today. We're asking about napping. Do you nap? If so, how many times a week? Because, well, you know, a couple guys do a morning radio show. Napping is part of our life. It's just a matter of how often.
I'm trying to make it a bigger part of my life.
And you know what? Good for you. Good for you. Some people, you know, strive to work out, lose weight, you know, eat better, things like that. You're striving to nap more.
I'm doing those same things, David. If I'm asleep for an hour, that means that I'm not eating anything, and that's a positive. Because if I'm awake, there's a good chance I'm going to that refrigerator door at least twice an hour.
And it also means you're not exercising, and, you know, why would you want to do that? So I'm with you. I'm with you. Once again, it's another reason to nap.
But that's our poll question. The David Moulton, that Mark Miller, floridasportsnetwork.com. Right now, I hate to say it, but 45% of you don't take naps.
I know. It's sad. It is. And it's not a flaw. I mean, it's life. It's work. We get it. I mean, when we were doing afternoons, it's not like we napped.
I'd sneak one in.
Would you really?
Oh, yeah, because we were selling at that point for this place.
True.
And so I'd come to the morning meeting some days and just go back home, take a nap for a couple hours and come back to work. Not going to lie. If I hit budget for the month, do you think I was actually going to go work?
But see, to me, you know, we weren't going to bed. You know, we were staying up later, not getting up as early. I don't know. I didn't need a nap when we were doing afternoons, even though we were working during the day.
Right. A little different when the 4 o'clock wake up call versus the 7:38 or whenever it was back then.
Right. I know. So that's our poll question. Have some fun with it. And hopefully you can at least squeeze in one nap a week. And by the way, you know, dozing off watching football every week, if you know that on Saturday or Sunday you fall asleep during one of the games, like Sunday, you go to church, maybe you do a little brunch action, and you know, you don't make it through the whole 1 o'clock game, or you fall asleep early in the 4 o'clock window. That counts. That's a nap.
Hey, Dolph fan, I'm going to tell you right now, you better make your plans Sunday of where you're going to go watch the game if you don't have the ticket. It's not going to be on locally. It's a Fox game.
Right. You know what that means? Bucks at Steelers. That's a Fox game at 1 o'clock, which means it outranks the Vikings Dolphins Fox game at 1 o'clock because, well, Fox 4 is your home for Bucks football. That's how it works. That's it. So
Seaside, where the Dolphins watch parties are, the Bloody Mary Bar, great spot to go watch the Dolphins and the Vikings on Sunday. So just a quick heads up that Sunday at 1's going to come, and you're going to go, oh, yeah, Miller and Moulton told me the game wasn't on. So just something to pay attention to for the weekend.
Do you know that Carson Wentz has thrown for almost as many touchdown passes as the starting quarterbacks right now for the other three teams in the NFC East?
Okay.
Carson Wentz has 10 touchdown passes so far this year in 5 games.
Okay.
You know, he's on pace for 34 touchdowns. Now, he's got 6 interceptions. So he's also on pace for about 20 of those. But Carson Wentz has 10 TDs. I believe Hurts, Daniel Jones, and Cooper Rush combined have 11. And yet Carson Wentz's team is 1-4. And the other 3 teams combined are 13-2.
I think it has to do with those 6 interceptions. And perhaps he has 6 fumbles. He's only lost 1 of them. But he's turned the ball over 7 times to those 10 touchdowns already this year.
And he has been sacked 20 times, which is technically third because there are 2 quarterbacks who have been sacked 21 times. So he's turning it over almost 1.5 times a game, and he's getting sacked 4 times a game.
He has more yards than Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging just under 280 yards a game throwing and 2 touchdowns. But once again, there's fantasy stats, and then there's winning stats. Meanwhile, Justin Fields, Mark, in 5 games, has 679 passing yards. That's what, 136 a game? I mean, say that out loud. 136 yards. Carson Wentz has literally more than twice as many passing yards as Justin Fields. And the Bears are 2-3.
And the Bears literally have twice as many wins as the Commanders.
Justin Fields has 3 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, 3 touchdown passes in 5 games. He's on pace for what, 11? I mean, think about that. He's on pace to be a starting quarterback for the entire season and throw 10 or 11 touchdowns. I mean,
David, the Bears have not even scored 90 points yet this year.
Their leading receiver has 173 yards. That's 35 yards a game. And yet it's a pick'em tonight. Bears at home. By the way, they're going all orange.
Oh,
orange,
God.
Orange. Oh, wait, it gets better. Orange tops, orange helmets.
You a fan of the helmets?
No.
I like them.
I can live with the tops for a couple games a year. Felipe, by now, what part of a team should never change their helmet? Do you not fully understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I didn't mind the black with the orange top and the black helmet. Once in a while you can deal with that. But
so hold on a second. You don't like the Giants helmets that say Giants on them, like throwbacks?
Once again, but see, now that's a different story. Like the Dolphins. 98% of our audience, 90% of the Dolphin fan base thinks they should be wearing the damn uniforms they wore in the 70s and 80s. Okay, so, it's the same thing like the Patriots. The way the Patriots looked last Sunday, that's how the Patriots would look to me. Red tops, the Minuteman, their, hiking the ball helmet. That, to me, is the Patriots uniform. Not what Kraft did with it when he bought the team in the 90s.
David, you may know this, but do you want to take a guess right now? I mean, look at the scoring in this league. You talk about scoring down with teams. The Colts have 69 points through 5 games.
And they're 500.
The Broncos have 75 points. The Steelers have 77.
Mark, the Chicago Bears, there are 4 teams who have less points than the Bears.
Right.
4.
The Rams have only scored 80 points this year.
Who has the most points, the Bills or the Chiefs? Or the Ravens.
I think
I believe
Buffalo,
it's
but I don't pay attention to that sort of thing, to be honest.
Chiefs by 7.
Okay.
But that's no indicator either because the Lions are 3rd in scoring in the league.
And they just got shut out.
Right.
And they're 3rd in scoring. But so, a few people wondered, hey, Thursday Night Football, have you talked about it? What do you want us to say? Now, I mean, I will say this. If you're a Bears fan and being respectable this year is important to you, which I would debate, to be honest, because I think you need so many players. I wish you would draft higher this year. But, I mean, you do win. You get to 3-3. And if it's important to you to finish ahead of the Lions, okay. Then I really hope you win tonight. I am of the belief the only thing that's important this year is the development of Justin Fields, which is why I hated the Bears offseason. The Bears basically invested the meaty part of their draft on a secondary and spent 5th and 6th round picks on offensive linemen. Well, I understand you don't necessarily have to spend 1st and 2nd round picks on offensive linemen, but it helps. And I would have been all in on Justin Fields. I would much rather have a team, if I was the Bears, that looks like the Lions than looks like the Bears. I would much rather have the Lions offense around Justin Fields and be 1-4 than have the Bears offense around Justin Fields and be 2-3. And I don't know if that's asinine or not, but that's, if I'm building a football team, I'm all in on my young franchise quarterback. I'll figure everything else out.
And they have nothing for their quarterback. They
Nothing.
have no weapons. They can't run the ball and refuse to even try.
Their line is awful.
And someone asked, do you remember when you said the Bears thought the Bears might be on the clock? I'm not taking that back. At the end of the year, if the Bears end up with 4 or 5 wins, even though they're 2-3 now, I'm not going to be that surprised.
I mean, ask yourself this: how many games are going to be favored in the rest of the year? Now, obviously, they're
playing
NFL.
They're playing 1-4 Washington at home, and it's a pick 'em.
Right.
If that's any to answer your question, David, they're home for Washington, who's 1-4, and it's a pick 'em
On a short week too. So that's our analysis on Thursday night. And
there's our preview.
And Mark, I didn't think about this because I just figured that the Commanders wouldn't go down this road. But if Washington loses tonight to the Bears, that most of the league thinks is just trash. Sorry, they do. They're 1-5. They've lost 5 in a row. This season is lost. And then you got to start wondering, I brought in Ron Rivera, we're going in the wrong direction. You might be onto something, Mark.
Miller and Moulton. We'll talk about anything that's more exciting than Commanders and Bears. Absolutely anything on the Florida Sports Network. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Life Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlifetransportation.com.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone, on 5th Avenue in Naples.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Second City, that's a new chatter in here. I'm hoping you hit that follow button for us. That's the only thing that matters to me. We'll never get to 1,000 by the time I wanted to, but we may get to it by, 2024.
By the way, you got anything this segment? Because I got something, at least for a moment.
Go then. Well, Nick, it could be a competitive game. I don't know if there's any way for it to be a good game, if you know what I mean. I mean, there's a really good chance this could be really close and come down to the last possession. I just don't know if it'll be any good. I don't know if it's possible, but it got colder in here.
Or Kenny, if I had to bet, I would say Josh Allen right now for NFL MVP. It almost always goes to the quarterback of a 1 or 2 seed.
Right. Can I tell you Monday, based on who wins the Bills-Chiefs game? I would say the winner of that game's quarterback is in the driver's seat right now.
Adam, what records do you think Rodgers can get? Tom Brady played how many years in the league before Aaron Rodgers started his first game? Rodgers didn't start his first game till 2008. So Brady had 7 years of starts before Rodgers started a game. Aaron Rodgers is not setting any all-time NFL records unless you're going to count quarterback rating or something like that. Right, but he was Brady was drafted in 2000 and started playing early in the 2001 season. Rodgers was drafted in 05 but didn't play till 08. So Brady put 7 years in. 25 touchdowns a year. That's 175 touchdown passes that Rodgers has to play catch up on.
Yeah, Rodgers is only 30,000 yards behind Brady.
That's all.
30,000.
That's all. No big deal or anything. Just about 7 full seasons.
30 seconds. Ten seconds.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Some final thoughts. Our picks on Thursday Night Football and maybe even the 2 baseball playoff games coming up beginning in 20 minutes. Our poll question involves naps. I take a lot of them during football season. Got us talking about napping. How many naps do you get in a week? 0, 1, 2, 3, or more. I'm in the 3 or more category. Mark's in the what?
1 to 2. Aspiring for more, David.
Well, we're all trying to be better, Mark. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, floridasportsnetwork.com. Quickly, just a little Gators note here. They could be without their best offensive lineman Saturday against LSU. Their right guard, Osiris Torrance, has not practiced much this week. And Billy Napier even said last night, yeah, we're probably going to have to make a decision. So they may be without their best offensive lineman against LSU. Now, they should still win, but obviously that doesn't help the cause any. Mark, today's a big day. Today is a big day.
All right. It's not a trade deadline. There's no Hall of Fames happening, so I'm trying to figure out where your head is here, David.
Today is the beginning of our second year of Act 3.
Wow, look at that.
It was a year ago today. It was a Wednesday, but October 13th of last year was when our third act and our first day as a syndicated show began.
Well,
so it's been a year. And Felipe, I think about a month in, 3 weeks to a month in, joined the survey, was still a full-time student at FGCU.
Probably wishes he still was.
Or
not at the moment.
Or that he wishes he had said no. Somebody convinced him, this is how you start your career. This would be really good for you. Okay. And that this, of course, was before he met us. And now he's probably ruining the day and the choice and all that.
Oh, there's no doubt. Even today, with you not here, Felipe's big moment for those listening on radio, we do the show on Twitch, which is essentially like a television show. It's the only way to put it. It's a bad one, but it still would be like a television show. And Felipe does not have a camera, and that bothers Felipe. So if I need to go get a water or use the facilities or whatever, Felipe sprints over to this side. He's had enough with me dissing him on pickleball today that he didn't even come over and get camera time that I'm aware of.
And Felipe, I think, I don't know this for sure, but I think what you're doing is you're doing the whole carrot and the stick thing with Felipe, aren't you? Kind of like, listen now, you do a good job producing, some clean shows, do what we want you to do. Get those podcasts up there by 10:10, 10:15. I do have a second spare camera now that Moulton has relocated. I could put it on you, but you gotta reach a certain threshold.
Don't give him that kind of encouragement.
I'm
We
just
all
sa-
know the camera's there. He knows the camera's there. And I can tell now, you can see by his face, he's bothered by the fact that you brought it up.
Who do I have to beat in pickleball to get it to me? Just tell me. I'll do it.
Mark, has he ever sounded more motivated about anything ever having to do with this show and his job, okay, than the carrot there that's being dangled about being able to put one of those little cameras on top of his laptop so that he could be seen?
Here's the problem, is that this setup that we use for the cameras, there's no way to have just a small, little, tiny Felipe camera. He's going to get as much space as we are. There's no two ways about it. And for the amount of time that he spends talking on the phone to whoever during our show, watching videos and television and all the other things he does,
Right.
I can't control what he's got going on over there.
No, I know. It's definitely our fear. He's distracted easily enough as it is. Right. So, tell you what, Felipe, what I am open to, first off, the segment idea that we had many months ago. All right. The whole Felipe 24-second clock, it caters right to you're the big NBA fan on the show. We'll give you 24 seconds. We'll get a clock to count it down in the background while you get to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about for 24 seconds.
And you have to respect the clock.
Right.
I can deal with you finishing a sentence as the buzzer's going off, because as long as that ball leaves your hands
right
before the clock goes off, the basket's good. We all know that.
I'll add a buzzer sound and then a.
I'd rather hear a clank because I think more times than not, Felipe, you're not going to switch that shot. That's
there you go.
What I'm expecting right there.
There you go.
But you can surprise us from time to time. And if you know what, you need both. You need one with the swish and one with the doink.
Right.
Just to give yourself the opportunity, if you think you've done really well, to give yourself the net.
Well, I'll hit him with a little.
See what happens?
Right.
He is illustrating exactly why
he doesn't have a camera.
Aren't going to get
right. And why he doesn't have a camera. You said it's either going to be a swish or a clank. Okay. And he's riding in the fire truck down the street in the parade. Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That was the old question on our show. What was it? Blake Griffin or Kevin Love? And you answered Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. Exactly. Yes. And Felipe is always Kevin Durant.
Yes.
Always. That's his answer. Either or. I don't like the choices. Okay.
We're done.
And it doesn't matter whether those things fit into the show or not. He just once he gets over the buttons, he's going to hit them all.
He's only got like 5 things. I mean, I have to admit, in a way, it's a good thing Felipe was not our producer during the first act, because remember, we had about 143 things, and he would have been unstoppable during our first act. So, but anyway, a year ago today, we began Act 3, having been fired twice, and we began our syndicated life. And, our theory was if we saw year 2, we would do 10. I'm not so sure we believe that, but Mark, as of today, we have seen year 2.
Well, that's a good sign.
It is.
There's about 10 new sponsors, but it's still a good sign.
We definitely could. Yes.
So if you want us to see year 10.
Right.
Just saying.
Right.
You seem to enjoy the program. At least that's what you tell us on the streets.
Right. Now, I mean, it was our belief when we agreed to do this little syndicated thing that it would be sold. Okay. And, now it's optional. So, okay. All right. But we'll still keep doing the show.
Long as they let us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I will say they pay faithfully twice every month. They do.
That's all we've ever asked for.
Yes. And I mean, faithfully. So, and for the most part, they leave us alone. And I mean, leave us alone. So and that's also what we've largely asked for. So we can't be hypocrites. We are paid faithfully, religiously, every month when we're supposed to. And for the most part, we've always asked to just be left alone. And believe me, we are left alone.
That is very true.
Yes.
So, hey, all right. Here's to year 2 and many more on the Florida Sports Network, where we're having a lot of fun bringing this show to some new and different places. And in the last hour, obviously, our bonus hour here, just in the 239 for those of you that aren't on Twitch or joining the show on one of the apps. But yeah, hey, I like it.
Now, we refer to this as our third act. The one thing Miller and Moulton have agreed upon, this is our final act. However long this lasts, and it is our hope that we get a, good 10, 12, 15-year run out of this sucker. Okay.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
ESPN has a weird obsession with corgi races.
By the way, the one thing I will say, Gliosu74, if you're talking about Felipe's job, you are the first person to say that Felipe has a good job. Because remember, the job does entail getting up at about 4:45, 5 o'clock at the latest.
Oh, I was going to mention it. I think I got the first time I walked in here was October 23rd, 2021. That was the day my college career ended. That was the day. And it was for a good cause, but that was the day it all ended.
Your college career, were you playing pickleball for FGCU that
No,
I didn't know about?
No, I was going out on weeknights.
You know, I hate to break this to you, Felipe, but when I was a little older than you and doing mornings before I teamed up with David, I still went out on Thursday nights.
Oh.
And I went out till 2 a.m. and rolled in here. Now I did 7 to 10, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a key hour.
Yeah, that extra hour helps.
It is a key hour.
But Mark, I've gone out still while I've been here.
Oh, we know you've fallen asleep during the show.
Yeah.
Oh, we know you've gone out.
I drove to a concert in Miami on a Tuesday night and drove back the same night and didn't go to sleep. Rather drove here about an hour before and ran around the studio.
What
just
concert?
To keep away. A Kanye West concert at Marlins Park. Something that'll probably never happen ever again. It was on 2/2/22.
The key there, Second City, is working man. Things David and I have never been.
Also, Second City, the problem here, especially now that the NBA season is coming back, is that I need to watch some of these West Coast games sometimes because it's the NBA and the NBA is my life. So I feel obligated to watch them.
The NBA
is my life.
Yes,
is my
ball
life.
Quite literally, ball is life.
It's 22. It's 22.
Look, LeBron's in year 20. He's in LA. All right. If he's on prime time playing the Sixers in LA and it starts at 10, I gotta watch it. Thus hindering my sleep.
I worked a morning shift in my early 20s, mid 20s. It was hard. It was hard. So then I made the decision for about a year that I was going to bartend at night full time. So I would just stay up. So I would sleep during the day.
How long were you a bartender?
I bartended for over 5 years.
Damn.
I loved it. I love, believe it or not, I love jobs. I love jobs in which the time goes fast.
10 seconds.
Like when you're delivering pizzas, you're working all the time. You're bartending. You're working all the time. You look up, shift's over.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
Home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us. Lee Sterling makes his picks tomorrow. I must admit, Lee's service, he's crushing it. His picks on our show, But then again, he's picking the games that we want him to pick. When he gets to decide what games he wants to pick, he's crushing it this year. Crushing it this year.
So I'm in a fantasy hockey league with my son and a bunch of his friends. And I don't take it very seriously. It's not a lot of money. It's fun. But I let my daughter on draft night, I let her pick a couple players. I said, just find a couple guys here that you want me to take. And she just picked out some names. She was all excited about it. I've stepped that up this week. She's going to be making my picks tomorrow.
Yes!
I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, but we'll go after the biggest games on the board. I'd like to get her to record it and then play it, but she is very suspect of getting near a microphone.
Which is shocking because she's not when there's no microphones present.
Not at all.
No. Very talkative.
The girl takes a 25-minute shower in which she is singing or doing some sort of play-by-play the entire time that we can hear downstairs.
Right. when we used to do the show from your house in the beginning of our second act, she would be very talkative during the breaks. And then you would say, okay, we're coming back now. I want to ask you a question. And she would like run out of the room, or she would be like, no, Daddy. And yes. Well, Mark, we've joked about it all those years I was in local TV, in which you'd be having a great conversation with somebody, and then you'd put the light on and say, okay, let me just ask you a few questions on camera. And you put the light on, and that person becomes a board. Stiff as could be, they give you
scares
nothing.
the hell out of people.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why radio is actually appealing to the Miller and Moultons of the world, because usually people let their guard down on radio. You get a much better product, essentially, from your guests than you do on television because of the lights.
Even Roto this morning, because we've been having to hook up with people essentially with a Zoom call to do the show because the phones in this building are still not working properly. So we've had to transition everybody to a Zoom call. Well, Pat Kirwan doesn't put his camera on ever. We never see Pat. I thought Roto do the same thing. The first thing he said, I got to be on camera too. I hate that. That's just human nature. Put that camera in front of somebody, put that microphone, they get a little freaked out.
So your daughter's doing the picks, though?
She's doing my picks, yes.
Is there any way she can do mine? Is there any way you could get your dog to do my picks?
Ooh.
Like,
I'll work on it. A couple of bowls,
Yeah,
I'd put a treat in each bowl. One's the home team, one's the away team.
Exactly. Like I'll submit my games to you.
One
side of the sheet is one team, one side of the sheet is the other. You put the exact same treat, okay, on both sides, whichever one Frank goes to first.
That's who you got.
That's my pick.
I like it. We can work with that. We can get that done. Send me your games. We'll get you. This is going to kill our audience because they have been set up to go the other way, and now we're bringing another method into this.
Well, I mean, are they really going to go the way of an 8-year-old and a dog?
Got to be better than going with Miller and Moulton.
Well, it clearly is. That's why we're having them do our picks.
What was that segment on Fallon? Puppy predictions?
Works for me at this point.
Can't be any worse.
No, it really can't.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
All right, I know you had our naval birthday the other day, and I had that the first U.S. Navy forms when the Continental Congress orders construction of a naval fleet today in 1775. So we may have conflicting naval dates. But again, it was over 200 years ago. How did they keep track? 1792, the Old Farmer's Almanac is published for the first time. 1903, the first Baseball World Series. The Boston Americans beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 3-0 in Game 8 for a 5-3 series victory.
That's right, Game 8. And they had World Series games that ended in a tie. It became the most popular sport in our country for nearly a century.
1921, the Giants beat the Yankees for a 5-3 series win. It was the Yankees' first ever World Series appearance, and it was the final time that the World Series would be played in the best-of-9 format. We go to 1960, where Bill Mazeroski's bottom of the ninth leadoff home run beats the Yankees 10-9 in Game 7.
One of the greatest upsets in World Series history. The Yankees were dominant that year. Pirates won 4 one-run games. The Yankees' 3 wins combined were by 30 runs.
Today in 60 was also the third presidential debate, with Nixon doing it in Hollywood and Kennedy was in New York. That seems miraculous in 1960 to pull something like that off technologically. It doesn't seem like anything now, but in 1960, that seems like an unbelievable effort.
Well, and not only that, what debate was it for them? Second or third?
Third.
Okay, and that was the third ever televised presidential debate. I mean, those two started it only a couple weeks earlier.
Today in 63, the Ryder Cup, the U.S. would destroy Great Britain, but it was the first time they added the 4-ball, the better ball matches. They did so at that time on the third day of play. Today in France, Mitch Mitchell, Noel Redding, and this guy named Hendricks debut as the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Today in 67, the first ABA game is played. The Oakland Oaks beat the Anaheim Amigos. The red, white, and blue ball and the three-point field goal were introduced.
That league had legs.
Really did. Billy Martin was fired today in 1969 by the Twins. He won the division with them.
Not the first time, Mark, that he won the division and got fired. Okay, he was a charming fella.
1971, the first World Series night game. Game 4, the Pirates would beat the Orioles 4-3. But we've only been playing night games for 50 years in the World Series. I mean, that's just amazing to me. 1978, President Carter answers callers' questions on National Public Radio. Hell, we don't even take calls, David.
Well, we would. Half the time we can't.
Today in 91, the Twins would win the pennant, beating Toronto in 5. It's significant because in Game 5, Cito Gaston becomes the first manager ejected in a playoff game. The hell did he say?
Wait a minute. Really?
It's what I've got.
Huh. No, I was just trying to think. The Game 7, the 85 World Series, when Joaquin Andujar freaked out, he got ejected. Cardinals-Royals. I guess Whitey didn't get ejected.
That means Billy Martin never got ejected in a playoff game either.
I know.
That's why I brought it up.
Nor did Earl Weaver then.
Right.
Wow.
6 years ago, Bob Dylan was given the Nobel Prize for Literature. 3 years ago, at the World Championships in Gymnastics, Simone Biles becomes the most decorated gymnast when she wins her 25th medal. Those born today that are no longer with us: Lenny Bruce, Margaret Thatcher, and Baseball Hall of Famer Eddie Matthews. Those celebrating their birthdays today. Paul Simon's a year older than Jerry Jones. Just kind of threw me. Paul Simon's 81, Jerry Jones is 80.
Both in the Hall of Fame, and only one of them should be.
Sammy Hagar is 75. Jockey Pat Day is 69. Reggie Theus is 65. Marie Osmond, 63. Derek Harper and Doc Rivers, each 61. The great Jerry Rice is 60. Reliever Trevor Hoffman is 55. Nancy Kerrigan is 53. Sacha Baron Cohen is 51. Brian Dawkins is 49. Paul Pierce is 45. And Southwest Florida's favorite politician, AOC, is 33 years old.
Jerry Rice.
Nothing on that one?
Oh, no, that was good. Oh, no, that was very good. Because for that split second there, when you said Southwest Florida's favorite politician,
right,
everybody in their minds then guessed who that person was.
Right.
Right. And then you went AOC. And everybody went, oh, I see what he did there.
Got to have a little humor in your life.
So it was, couple Mondays ago? So what are we talking, 10 days? Jerry Rice, who I guess was a week and a half away from turning 60. Right before the game starts, Niners trying to rev up the crowd, taking on their arch rival Rams. Jerry Rice sprints the length of the field, holding like a Niners flag. And I mean, he runs it hard, as you would expect Jerry Rice to do. And then gets to the end zone, holds up the flag, and whoops the crowd into a frenzy, and then runs back. Week and a half shy of 60. Turned to John Perry, and I go, he might finally be a little too old to play another game in the NFL, but what do you think? Jerry Rice or T.O.? And then we watched the Rams play for the next 3 hours, and we both were like, well, the Rams could use one of them.
No doubt. No doubt. Did I miss anything, David?
Well, earlier in the week, I believe you had something having to do with the White House. Okay.
Right.
They say it was today, 230 years ago in 1792, that the cornerstone is laid for a presidential residence in the newly designated capital city of Washington. John Adams, by the way, 1800, becomes the first president to reside in the mansion, which was not at the time, kind of like the Super Bowl. Super Bowl I, not the Super Bowl.
Right. The executive mansion.
Right. but it becomes known as the White House because of its white-gray Virginia freestone, which contrasted strikingly with the red brick of all the nearby buildings. And literally, the city of Washington was created to be our nation's capital because they felt Philadelphia was a little too far north. And they needed something kind of in the geographic middle. And at the time, that's what D.C. was.
And Greensboro was already the head of the ACC at that time, so they couldn't pick it.
Right. I mean, they were years away from moving it to Charlotte. Wow. That's just taking swipes from every direction there. But howitzers from both of us there.
Mark, you mentioned B-Doc, Brian Dawkins. One of the greatest nicknames in sports, Weapon X.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Well, we just had the bad and the ugly combined. What was that nickname again?
Weapon X.
Okay. Thanks for that.
What? It's an awesome nickname.
You called it. Did you say it was just an awesome nickname or the best nickname?
One of the best nicknames.
One of the best nicknames. Yep. Weapon X. Wouldn't make top 50. For the good, another story from Ian. Catherine and David Blessing had triplets. They were born before Ian had a name. But because of the storm, they had to be evacuated by helicopter to the All Children's Hospital in St. Pete. And for the first time, mom and dad finally got to hold all their sons together for the first time earlier this week. They rode out a hurricane at the Golisano Children's Hospital, had to be evacuated to St. Pete, and now back with mom and dad after being born prematurely. Great story, and all the work that had to go in that is just crazy between the two hospitals and the helicopter and everything that those kids have already endured, and they're not even a couple of weeks old. For the bad, we go to Seminole, Florida, where Paul Sinclair entered a Chase Branch Bank in Seminole, Florida, and approached teller Desiree Stefanak. With his hand under her shirt, he made the shape of a gun with his finger and demanded that she hand it over cash, and also advised her to not push any buttons. The bank employee handed over $120. He fled the crime scene and was literally arrested 11 minutes later. $120, bank robbery, arrested in 11 minutes.
$11 a minute.
Not even minimum wage.
Was it worth it? Oh, I made $11 a minute.
For the ugly, we go to Arkansas in the Morlanton Country Club, where a scramble was held. And they had claimed about promoting a new F-150 4x4 Super Crew as a prize for the first person to hit a hole-in-one on the 10th hole.
Okay.
Austin Claggett did just that.
Awesome.
He aced the 10th hole.
Great.
Yeah, not so much. Because apparently they're not giving him the car.
Whoa.
And they shouldn't have offered the deal. J4 Hodge never secured the necessary insurance for the vehicle. And without their knowledge, the country club promoted the pickup as a hole-in-one prize. So now he has sued the tournament and the country club for the car. We will keep you updated on whether or not he gets the vehicle. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, October the 13th, 2022.
Well, we know we have Thursday Night Football, Amazon, Washington, and Chicago. It's a pick'em. You got American League Baseball playoffs today, 3:30, 7:30. Both games on TBS. Seattle, Houston early, Cleveland, Yankees late. Mark, there's not one but two college football games tonight.
One of them's not bad. Baylor and West Virginia, right?
On FS1, Baylor on the road, a 3.5-point favorite. And UCF home once again on the four-letter network, laying 23.5 against Temple. You know, Matt Rule could go back to Temple.
I think he'll get a better job than that.
Okay.
Miller and Moulton. Hope you enjoyed the show today. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning. It'll be a Football Friday edition of Miller and Moulton. Where else but right here on the Florida Sports Network.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for